I'll give you an example. JD was trying to be polite around my children. He is sensitive. He's dancing around what he's had to deal with socially.
Right.
And you asked me one time, I mean, I could cry, but you were like, is it okay for me to kiss my boyfriend in front of your boys? I'm like, we're at a party. Why wouldn't you hold your boyfriend's hand or kiss him? Wow. Of course. And I wouldn't even think that it was a, like.
Yeah. I mean, I did want to fully make out on the table, so it was more than just a kiss, but.
So I thought of something. What if we went around and said something that we actually love or like about ourselves? Is anybody up for that?
I love that. All right, I will start because someone's got to. And I would say that something I like about myself is that I have a great sense of humor.
I like that I'm positive in a lot of negative situations. I feel like I have a pretty positive outlook, sometimes to a fault.
I love that I am determined and tenacious. I do not give up.
So I tried to think about it because I don't like to think about myself too much.
But we're changing that.
I love animals. I treat them as equal creatures on this planet. And I think I love that most about myself.
I love the fact that I love helping people.
I think my empathy.
Mom, what do you love about yourself?
Oh, my teeth. I guess I love trying to be, I think I try really hard to be kind.
Hey, Dynamos. I'm JD Cargill, and this is Gals, Gays, and Days. Let's take the Rainbow Press. This just in. The Rainbow Press. What is the Rainbow Press? I wanted to explain it. I want to just take a second to tell everybody what it is so that you understand how our editorial process is going to work here a little bit at Gals, Gays, and Days. We like everything to be very intentional when possible. And so on our last episode, you saw that we named the different pride flags, and we sort of went over what the colors and the bands mean and the orientation. And the rainbow flag, the original pride flag that was created back in 1978, gives us a lot of inspiration around here. As you can tell, there's rainbows everywhere. But we decided to let it also guide the way that we pick the stories that we're going to cover on the Rainbow Press. Seems to make sense, right? So those red stories are going to be stories of life, things that are really relevant to the LGBTQ plus community. Also, let me put my glasses on. Family, occupation, money, recreation. And then that orange band, which represents healing, those will bring us stories of health, medicine, therapy, acceptance, ending shame and unhealthy fear, guilt, and self-doubt, that thing I talk about so much. And then the yellow band stands for sun, and that is solution, charity, energy, warmth, touching, endearing, loving, meaningful, hugely impactful stories. We're going to talk about one of those today, actually, from both the orange and the yellow category. We'll get to those in a minute. And nature, actually. We're right in the middle of the flag today because green represents nature, and that's human nature, mother nature, sex, natural things, the outdoors, travel. So those are those stories. And then the blue band stands for harmony. So we'll try to bring you plenty of stories about peace and balance, self-improvement. Of course, harmony seems to speak to music, right, as well. So we're going to have music stories in that block. And then the final color on the rainbow flag is that purple, that violet, and that is soul, according to the creators of the flag. And so for us, what soul stories mean, they're feel-good stories. They're good, enjoyable, happy stories. In the news business, which is where my experience is mostly, we would call that the kicker. Something happy, something to make sure that the show ends on a positive note and leaves you feeling inspired. Especially on Gals, Gays, and Days, where we oftentimes do talk about really serious topics. We have some heavy stuff actually to talk about today as well. And that will get us right into our next story on the Rainbow Press. From the Orange Band of Healing, we want to talk about male sexual assault, not males being the victim of sexual assault. And in particular, a big story that's been going around that our own Mariah brought to my attention. Mariah, hello. Why don't we have you pop on? She's like, thanks, JD. I just love when you start talking to me in the middle of the show.
I love it.
So, and I love seeing your face on camera whenever you want. Mariah brought us this great story. She is, a generation or two behind and young. And we love that here because it opens our eyes and insights to different worlds we may not see. I'm not that familiar, but now that I am, I'm really excited we're talking about it. There's a young man, 18-year-old, named Jack Wright. And Jack Wright is a cast member of the Netflix reality show Hype House. Mm-hmm. And tell us, Mariah, what is the story? What is going on with Mr. But now, I mean, I'm sure, is this his most popular video he's ever put
I
out?
believe so. I mean, he's a part of the Hype House, so that comes with,
a lot of energy.
a lot of fame and, their Netflix show. And so there is a lot of attention on him and them. And, when this story came out, the fact that he didn't kind of come out about it, there was a lot of backlash on him. Mm-hmm. The abuser posted videos about it, kind of attacking him and blaming him for not responding, and we'll get into that too on why these victims aren't coming forward right away. Right. And there is a reason, right?
And specifically, we're talking about male victims of sexual assault.
Yes.
And in this case, this young man is alleging that a TikTok star that he spends a lot of time with or was around a lot had sort of touched him inappropriately when he was passed out, mm-hmm. had taken her clothes off and jumped on top of him, even though he protested it, mm-hmm. and at one point unlocked a bathroom door that he was in.
While he was showering.
And maybe that was the point where it had gone too far, but according to his side of the story, well, we actually have an asset that kind of explains a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Why don't we play that? Why don't we show? This is from a Brandon Q, right?
Yeah, he's a TikToker who, addressed it, addressing why Jack didn't come forward right away, and addressing the abuser's TikTok videos of her addressing as well.
All right, let's take a look.
Jack, if you really feel like I sexually assaulted you, why didn't you report me? Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you come out with these claims months ago? Why didn't you stop hanging out with me every day? Why didn't you say anything till now?
I told myself I wasn't going to speak on this because of how young they are and the things that have been going on, but I've seen so many videos about this couple. If you don't know who this is Sienna May talking about Jack Wright. They're both very young. They're both very high up TikTokers. They both have very large accounts, and there's a lot of things being said right now. Not that long ago, Jack posted saying that Sienna had sexually assaulted him, or that he had been sexually assaulted. Since then, I have seen several videos from Sienna. I have seen 14-part explanations and trying to right the situation. I have seen her YouTube video. I have watched everything. And meanwhile, Jack has been silent. And I can see now why he was silent. As a man who's been sexually assaulted before and know that nobody would believe him when he said it, because anybody else would have said, oh, you're lucky to have had.
Wow. Yeah.
It's a lot.
That is. Yeah. And I'm glad that we threw up that trigger warning, and apologies to anybody out there who, and sorry for anybody out there who's triggered by this kind of content, because it's so sensitive and it definitely touches a nerve. There's a lot to unpack here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, first and foremost, we should always say that, we are here not as legal experts and not as any kind of experts in the media, and this is part of media, and so we're analyzing it a bit, but, we aren't doctors or lawyers or anything like that. So these are just our opinions. But I do want to get into it. I feel like, gosh, there is a lot going on here. Let's talk first about this man who stepped up on behalf of this other man, because that in and of itself is such a courageous act.
I just got chills.
I know.
All over my body.
Me too. It's in the air.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of courage.
It does.
And men don't talk about this kind of thing. I can hear so many men from my past right now, like rolling their eyes and balking at the notion of this young man who we'll show you in a moment here. And you'll really see how impactful it is. But, they're so quick to write off that a man can be the victim of sexual assault. Of course, we know that's true through other men and the whole Catholic Church scandal and just beyond that in general. Yeah. But sometimes women are also the predator.
Yeah.
And why is it, what do you think it is about our society and the way that we're talking and the way things have happened so far that stops men from, because we want men, women, we want anybody who's ever been a victim of sexual assault to come forward. It's not just for you. Of course it's for you, but every single person who comes forward makes it easier for the next person to come forward and harder for the next predator to take action. So,
and these people, especially in the public eye.
Right.
I mean, it's one thing to come forward to the people close to you, but to tell the entire world, 20 million plus people, seeing the most vulnerable you could be. I mean, the courage that it takes to do that, I can't even imagine.
Why don't we go ahead and hear a little bit from Jack and his side of the story?
Pull it up.
I don't think I'll ever be the same person I was before Sienna. It sucks, and there's going to be people that try to take advantage of you and get you at your most vulnerable state, and that's not fair. That's not fair at all. And it's a lot of the time it's usually like the nice people that like let people walk all over them. And that was me. Like, I let everyone just walk all over me, no matter what. Like, I would do anything for anyone. And I think that's one of the things she gave me, was I learned how to be more bold and finally say no, and know that it was right to speak out.
It's hard to watch. I mean, my first reaction is what his mother must be thinking, like when she saw this. And I'm sure that they as a family decided, like I think he says in a portion of the video, that they all came together to make this decision. But geez,
takes you back, It's like
it's so brave. I mean, that word is thrown out around a lot lately, but if you think about where he is in his journey right now, and you think about the way that teenagers behave and what the biggest, sort of broadest social message is around it. I know I said this before, but like in thinking about it, there's kind of, in a way, if a woman grows up, you have to understand that who the alleged accuser or the accused is here is a TikTok star. She's underage, so we're not going to say her name, and we're not going to show her. She's on TikTok, and the story is widely available. But she, in a way, is part of a culture now. If you look at her Instagram, if you scroll down and really dig into it, her entire brand has been made on her sexuality. She's scantily clad. I guess started out kind of a hero to some girls because she was showing a more shapely form and more curves, and but then and so she's getting, and then millions or however many people on TikTok are giving her this constant sense of affirmation that your sexuality is your value
and your biggest strength.
It's your superpower.
It is, yeah.
It's her that's what she feels maybe right now, potentially. And then she tries to apply it to this young man who is not giving her consent, who is not, according to his story, not allowing this to happen or wanting this to happen. And yet she's going in with this message. I'm not trying to take away anything from her culpability here.
Right.
Like, consequences must be had.
Right.
I hope he presses charges. I think it's a powerful message that it's hard and scary, but the more people that speak their truth, the easier it is to for other people. Right. So, but I think so. If you look at it really closely, yes, she's a predator allegedly, and any predator needs to suffer consequences. But then if you step back and you think, these kids these days, oh my gosh, I sound, mother, if you're watching, that you just heard you come out of my voice. These kids these days, they're growing up in a way that has the kind of technological advancements that have completely changed and really like added to the intensity of their sexual experience. Like when they're coming into their own, it's like, if you think, oh, I get attention because I do this, and then you try to apply that to your real life.
Yeah.
Can you see what I mean?
Well, this is why people like me. This is why I'm getting famous. So this must be, why all these guys and girls are so into me is my body. So if I really like this guy, and again, I'm not defending anyone, but it's true.
We're just trying to understand.
Well,
right?
yeah, we're
just
trying to understand the
how something
situation.
like this happens. Because he says he alleges that it has happened multiple times. It is not
for months. It's been going on for months.
Right.
Where he has constantly. I mean, it is classic like manipulator behavior to abuse, apologize, say you're going to change.
Mm-hmm. You lure the victim back in.
Yeah, exactly. And you're a part of the same. I mean, they're young. You're a part of the same social circles.
Right.
You
find yourself in the same
a
environment
teenager that's
all the time.
famous at that age, like, is a whole nother thing. So it's very complicated, and I understand how it was really complicated for him
to come out
and say something. And toxic masculinity, the way that people look at men and their sex drive, and there's all like, oh well, like Brandon said in the TikTok, like, what man wouldn't love that?
Right.
Like,
that's the assumption. Yeah, that right, of course, she's beautiful.
Like,
and
why would you not want?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Consent matters. Consent is important.
And also,
no matter what your gender is.
Right.
It's, yeah.
That is the theme that we're talking about right now, is that sexual assault and assault in general has no gender.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is, it's interesting. We're going to talk about this later in Taboo as well. We're having that segment today. In Taboo, we talk about things that were once really off limits that are now mainstream. And that also includes open communication. There was a time when men, it was even harder than it is today for a man to come forward and say like something like this. I mean, it pains me when I think about a movie like Spotlight that shines a light on the gay abuse scandal in the Catholic Church, or sorry, I shouldn't say gay abuse, the priest abuse scandal in the Catholic Church. And it won an Oscar, and I think it touched so many nerves because there is a lot of stuff out there that's happening that the victims aren't talking about it. And part of the reason they're not talking about it is because they feel shame from their own should be supportive community, in this case, other men.
Yeah.
And so we talk about toxic masculinity. And how brave this young man is for doing what he did, to come out and talk the way he is and to share his story. Yeah. And the very beginning of the video starts with him saying he's been wanting to do this for a while, so it took him a while. And you see all the cuts in the video, which, if you know anything about media, I'm glad they're showing them, because they're not trying to say they didn't start and stop. But a lot of times when you have to start and stop, it's because things have gotten very emotional and you have to collect yourself, and the kid's just all puffy-eyed through the whole thing. And I mean, not to get just all focused on the, what we're seeing here, but what he's talking about and what it means is really powerful. And then his choice to do this. Now, this is what we like to, like, people are like, why is the story in healing? And also, speaking of the story being in healing, in just a moment, we're going to have a little roundtable about it and bring on our own healer, Angelica Perman, who's here in the studio today. What? Yeah, I'll do the applause when she comes on. But before we get into that, let's get into this third act of the story, the part that really focuses on healing.
If you're watching right now and you've been through a situation like mine, I just want to say your feelings are valid. Your feelings are valid, your opinion is valid. I believe you, and I want you to know that you can talk to someone, you can talk to anyone, you can talk to me. But that's how I want to end it off. I love you guys.
So, talk about healing. This young man had the fortitude, 20 minutes into this video, after sharing his heart and pouring it all out, to have the wherewithal to pay it forward, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, he says, like, if anyone out there has gone through what I have, like, he's like, talk to someone. But not only does he say go talk to someone, he's like, you can talk to me.
Right.
And he's already, I mean, the time that it can take to heal from something like that, and he's coming out on this platform and lending a hand to anyone that has struggled, and
that's meaningful. That's going to touch a lot of people's lives, because the word influencer exists for a reason. They have influence. And speaking of people with influence and healers and everything else, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the gorgeous, the talented, the amazing, and sexiest psychic out there, Angelica Perman. That's so great. Angelica, you are our resident healer, and we are doing the story in the orange band of the rainbow flag because it's a healing story. It's a painful story, as much healing, what needs to be healed, that which is broken, right, or hurt or damaged. So, but this guy, this young influencer, this hype house star, has gone through this really traumatic sexual assault experience and then put himself out there to share it. What is your take?
Well, my take is that, like you were saying, that it's very uncommon for men to feel comfortable.
Let's just make sure your audio is good.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to make sure I can hear you okay.
I'm not sure.
That's okay.
Let's check that.
Hey. Hey, Dynamos, tell us in the chat if you can hear Angelica. We want to make sure.
Hey, can you hear
there
me? Oh, there we
she
go.
is.
Hi.
There she is.
Thank
Good.
you so much. Yeah.
Welcome. Do we need another round of applause?
Let's do
Angelica
it again.
Perman, everybody.
Hi.
We love her.
Oh, wow, there's a lot of applause.
You encourage quite a reaction. So, tell me, what was your take on this story as you were listening?
Yeah, I mean, what I was going to say is that, like you were saying, it's very rare for men in the society to feel like they can come forward with this kind of abuse. And from a perspective of healing, I've worked in recovery for over 20 years, and many of my clients were male and had been sexually assaulted, sexually abused, and held that shame their whole life. Or they were told when they did tell somebody, oh, that's great, man.
Right.
Almost like that's good that happened, or like buck up, or
this is where that phrase "locker room talk" comes from, right? Like,
exactly.
This is the way boys behave. This is
Boys will be boys.
Yes.
Right, depending on the situation, right? But if it was a priest or something like that, the amount of emotional torment that these people have gone through from a situation like that, where their most trusted mentor took them, groomed them, took them from the parents, let the parents know, oh, I'm going to take care of this person. I've got them, and they mentor them, and then the parents give the child over to this kind of person,
thinking here is a safe, space.
Right, and they can't get away from their mentor.
That's an interesting point, because it kind of mirrors something that's coming up a lot. If you read the comments and you see what people are saying about this story, they talk a lot about, and even you heard it in her protest, which was a lot. By the way, when you're defensive, you say a lot.
And right. So
and
aggressive.
So it's sort of, we're not lawyers. We don't know. There apparently is evidence. There's video evidence out there.
Wow.
So
There is.
I don't know if he's pressing charges at this point, but what you even hear what she says is like, why didn't you leave? Why did you stay around? Why did, she's saying all that.
And
People shut
she
down.
calls him out too. I mean, to say like his name in a very attacking tone to someone, to a victim. Victim blaming.
Sounds to me like the apology that he is seeking is nowhere close to happening, and probably because teams have got legaled up and people are telling their team don't admit any
and she's
fault.
admitted to that on social media. She has said in one of her videos, I've been having hundreds of people or whoever's on her team tell me exactly what I should say. And she admitted that, and she was like, but I just want to say this, and that's kind of what we saw in the TikTok was from there.
So my guess is that even that was a little bit staged, because to have there's video evidence of you groping this man while he was passed out,
unconscious.
That's not consent. That's a problem. Unless these were deep fakes, which I think I hear there's 3 sources of video, so it's pretty damning. It's pretty damaging.
It was in the middle of a party, so there were their friends were there and actually witnessed it.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So
it's really layered.
Yeah, it is.
Well, one of the things I want to speak to is that in our society, a lot of times we damn the victimizer, right? And they need healing.
Of
we
course.
have to
for
stop
sure.
this pattern. Where did it start in that person's life and their family lineage? And if there's a way to bring people together for healing, what I'd like to see is situations where both parties can come together and actually have somebody mediate and support the healing and have each person be heard. Because clearly in her defense, right, she's not fully understanding what she did. There's something happening with our media and with the messaging that it's okay what she did. She's not getting it.
The fact that it happens so many times does indicate that.
Yeah.
It's like that it's not, the dots aren't connecting. But if you think about it, it's that same toxic masculinity. Imagine this messaging. If the message out there is Men don't complain about this. Men shouldn't. They should be glad and lucky that a beautiful girl is giving them any sexual attention, no matter who it is and what circumstance. If that's the message out there, the women are also hearing that message.
Oh, yeah.
That
Yeah.
I can do anything I want. And, you know, listen, this is by far not the volume where it is male on female assault. Like, we know that, I think statistically the numbers are not there. But although, do we know the numbers since men don't come forward as much?
I'm going to disagree with that.
Oh, really? You think there's just as many men?
I think that that 1 in 3 people are sexually abused
Right.
in their lifetime.
Right.
Children, adult, young adult.
No
And
matter
I've
the
worked
gender?
with.
I mean,
I
it's
have
gone up.
worked
Last
with,
time I did a story on this, I thought it was 1 in 4. And
you
out
know,
of that,
and because they
75%
don't
were women.
report.
Yeah.
They don't report. I
Right.
think it's a false.
Yeah.
From what I've dealt with, almost every male client that was in the rehab had been sexually assaulted or abused as a child in a sexual way.
And then you think about that, right? The long-term effects of unaddressed and unacknowledged trauma, drinking,
Yeah, addiction,
you know,
acting out,
which is a
repeating.
disease in of itself. And so you can catch a disease from trauma that is unprocessed, and then it turns into a life of pain a lot of
Pain.
times, you know, and then hopefully you
Shame.
find recovery. Yes, exactly. So
and then acting out. A lot of people that are abused become abusers,
Right.
and they're angry. They're so upset with whoever did that they treat other people in the same way. So what I hope for these 2 younger people, that there's some healing that happens and a bigger lens, like that the discussion goes to, instead of attack, it goes to our whole society needs a healing on this.
Right.
Yeah.
This is how it starts, right? We're talking about it in the media. We're talking about it from a position of healing because we want that. And that ultimately has to be, it feels like that's what the young man's goal is, because he doesn't even seem in the video like he's expecting an apology.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
He says,
He wants,
I don't know if she'll ever
right.
apologize or think she did anything wrong.
Right. Well,
Which-
hopefully this does break through. And we want that for her. We don't want bad things to happen to people. People who are victimizers tend to be the victims themselves of violence or some kind of abuse, or just a society that is raising them with, you know, this messed up toxic masculinity that is causing people not to feel like they can come forward when these things happen. So
Mixed with narcissism and toxic female energy as well, because there's both toxic male and toxic female. As we're seeing in this situation, the
is.
genders are switched. It's not a gender issue. It's a person issue. And she's not seeing clearly
what?
the pain that she's caused.
Exactly.
You know, that's what's happening. So there's something in her that she's not connected with. She's outwardly focused on Instagram, on the, you know, that's where her focus has been.
Right.
And she has a team that's probably reassuring
navigating-
and telling her
yeah.
that, oh, you didn't do anything wrong. Don't listen.
The echo chamber of the yes man and the yes woman.
Exactly.
It is a painful thing. We will talk about that too.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful for both of you for sharing that story of healing from the Rainbow Press today. We have more stories later, but before we do that, I want to take a little break for a mindful moment where we remind everybody that it's fun to listen to quotes. It's fun to hear what other people have said in support of the LGBTQ community. And that was my inspiration when I pulled these. Take a look at this mindful moment. Well, I hope we gave you plenty of time to read that mindful moment, that quote from Barack Obama, when all Americans are treated as equal and their love is treated as equal, we all win. I'm paraphrasing since the quote went away, but that was from the 44th President of the United States. And I'm very excited because I am joined not by one, but two incredible people. And we're going to go into our new segment, Taboo. That's where we talk about things that were once off limits that are now more mainstream. But before we get to that, here they are. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to first introduce Erica Garza, author of Getting Off: My Journey Through Porn and Sex Addiction. That's right.
That's right.
And our lovely new cast member and regular on the sofa talking to the dynamos. Say hi to Rachel Anderson. Yay to both these ladies. What?
Hi.
We will be talking to Rachel a lot more in just a minute as we get her story and welcome her on. But now we're going to focus on Erica and your book, Getting Off. First of all, thank you so much for joining us today on Gals, Gays, and Days.
Thanks for having me.
You are officially our first author and guest in this segment and on the show.
Oh, that's exciting.
It is exciting. The reason that I know about your story is because we run a podcast studio and you were a guest on another international podcast. And I was so captivated. It actually inspired this segment, Taboo, where I'm fascinated by things that were once off limits, like gay marriage and interracial marriage and cannabis. And there's all these things and frank discussions about pornography, frank discussions about sex. That was once very taboo. And so with that, I want you to know that I have given the green light for us to have a very grown-up, R-rated conversation here. So this is what this show is about being honest and candid. Welcome, Erica. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So I do love to start off with a little passage from the book or something that you feel really summarizes the essence of it to get us into the talk about it.
Okay, so it is a few pages long, if that's all
absolutely
right.
fine. We are not on a time limit.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to read from the very beginning of my book, which chronicles my 20-year struggle with porn and sex addiction. And in this passage, it's pretty much in the midst of that addiction at my lowest point, or one of my lowest points, since I had several of them, and just sort of encapsulates what I was feeling when I was in those moments, acting out, and the kind of the thoughts running through my head.
Very well.
This guy I kind of know named Clay, who has a neck tattoo and sells arty photographs to tourists, is on top of me, and he's not wearing a condom. I don't care. I'm completely sober. He's not. I'm not sure what time it is. It is so dark outside that I can barely see Clay's neck tattoo, his condomless dick, or his mouth full of crooked teeth. I hear him grunting. I feel his body's weight, his 6'8" frame on my 5'2", and I know he's almost finished. I'm too tired to have an orgasm, so I wait for the inevitable end. It's not that I don't enjoy this. Enjoy is not big enough a word. I have come to crave these nights with Clay. Sometimes he calls during the day, and we make plans to go out for drinks. Never dinner, because what would we talk about? But then I don't hear from him until the middle of the night when he's drunk or high and knocking at my front door. I don't care. I can't even picture him in the bar ordering drinks, sliding dollar bills over to the bartender, or making conversation with me fully clothed. It's true that I met him in a bar many months before, so I must have seen these things, but I was so drunk and heartbroken from my last breakup that I'm not sure exactly how that night went and what things he said to get me to swallow his cum. He called me in the morning, and even though we made plans that I knew he wouldn't keep, I got dressed anyway, and I put on my mascara and took a small swig of the vodka I keep in the freezer to prepare myself for an awkward date, imagining the questions we'll trudge through out of politeness until the drinks we've ordered make us courageous enough to suggest the next move to someone's bed, likely mine. After the time we'd chosen to meet had long passed, I wiped off my makeup, slipped on my pajamas, and fell asleep. Sometimes he shows up in the middle of the night, sometimes he doesn't. Either way, I won't get another call for a few days or a week until he's bored and horny and we play this game again. Tonight, when I heard him knocking, I woke up straight away, but I stayed in bed a little longer than usual. For a fleeting moment, I considered that letting him in might not be the best thing for me, which isn't so much of an aha moment, but the usual common sense that I choose to ignore. I thought about the sensation of his hips against mine, his heavy breath on my neck, the fullness that sex gives me like having feasted on a hearty meal. But I also thought about the immediate emptiness that follows my nights with him or men like him. I weighed the options like a sensible person. Then I did the expected. I took off my pajamas, opened the door naked, and led him back to my bedroom. He turns me over, which is his favorite way to finish. My eyes, fully adjusted to the darkness now, focus on the dent forming between my headboard and the wall. I think about spackling. Then I see my reflection just above that in the large mirror that hangs above the bed. I hold eye contact with myself while he fucks me, slipping into some sort of twisted meditation. I'm someone else, a queen or a goddess. He is just some lowly subject I use for fun. There are guards in armor waiting outside my door and maidens who will bathe me and rub me with sweet-smelling oils before putting me to bed. But when Clay pulls out, he flips my body back over like a rag doll and comes all over my tits and stomach, so a pool forms in my belly button and rolls out onto the bedspread. Afterward, we lie there, our elbows touching. I am less sleepy than I was when I opened the door, so the awkwardness sets in fast. He asks how my day was, and then I wait in desperate anticipation for the call you tomorrow or see you in a few days, which may or may not be true. I don't care. I dread the nights when he tries at intimacy, holds me in the sweaty crook of his arm for a few minutes before he retreats to the farthest corner of the bed to sleep, while I lie there for hours, unable to sleep beside a stranger. Finally, he feeds me his lines and gets dressed and goes, and I give myself 2 orgasms in the wet spot of the bed. Once to a 3-minute clip of a teenager fucking her stepdad on the kitchen counter while her mom showers upstairs, and then again to the thought of what a miserable slut I am to allow a guy like Clay to use me for sex. There's nothing unique about this singular moment in bed with Clay. I can reach into my arsenal of memories and easily pick out another story just like it, sometimes not even including a man. Because what I got from Clay was more than just his penis inside of me. What I got was an elaborate mix of shame and sexual excitement I had come to depend on since I was 12 years old. And my methods of getting this only became darker and more intense so that it wreaked havoc on all aspects of my life until I became a shell of a person, isolated, on a path to certain destruction. With Clay gone and my 2 orgasms over, I steep in the afterglow of having gotten what I needed. And by now, I'm too exhausted to consider answering the overwhelming question echoing inside of me where he and the cheerleader and the stepdad just were. Why am I doing this? What I block out of my head because it doesn't fit the sad story I'm devising is that I'm using Clay too. He's probably caught up in the same emptiness I am, desperately filling it with any warm body available. For what little conversation we have, Clay and I are actually quite similar, and we could probably have a genuine connection if we talked about these things. But we don't talk about these things because, well, it isn't sexy. I'd rather stick with the one thing that always manages to get me off. I'm bad, bad, bad.
Wow. That is some powerful writing.
Thank you.
My first reaction in hearing it is how many millions of people can relate to exactly what you just wrote and read, and just are dying to hear what you have to say next, which is probably what are going through this right now. You know, what did you do to get through this? But let's back up and just know who you are, okay? So that those that really can relate, like you're what is your story? You're an everyday American woman who...
Yeah, so I grew up in Los Angeles, on the east side of LA. My family is Mexican-American, and I grew up in a pretty strict conservative household. We were Catholic, so I went to Catholic school from kindergarten through high school. And so I'm pretty sure anyone would hear that and be like, oh, she has fucked up ideas about sex. I mean,
she also knows shame early on.
Very, very early on. That's part of the indoctrination. So, I mean, I think that contributes a lot into my ideas of sex from an early start. I was taught early on that sex was something that happened between a man and a woman to make babies, and they had to be married, and it was a very like boxed in idea of what sex was. There was nothing about masturbation. There was nothing about liking people of the same sex. And so when I started to explore with these things, tangled up in feelings of pleasure and excitement was this intense feeling of dread and shame. And I don't know about you, but the first time I masturbated was like a life-changing moment. I mean, I remember everything about it. And I especially remember that after all the pleasure, after I climaxed, there was this feeling of like, what did I discover? I'd stumbled into something, a room I wasn't supposed to be in. And I think a lot of that has to do with the silence that came from, being in a Latino family and being Catholic, that nobody talked about it. And I figured that if people weren't talking about these things, then obviously there was something wrong with it.
Exactly.
And as they say, what you resist persists. And so I think trying not to masturbate just turned into wanting to masturbate all the time. And then I started to use it as a coping mechanism for lots of different reasons.
Can you just get out of my head, girl? Literally, like everything you're saying, I'm like, yep. I mean, as a gay kid growing up in the closet, boy, that juxtaposition of masturbating with shame is a painful constant. Like it defined so much of my life. That's part of what, when you were on our other show, or the other show here, it just stood out to me that your story is so many people's stories, but nobody's talking about it. Like, so, and also I want you to know that we can all talk, you guys, Rachel, everybody, this is an open discussion. So if you hear something and you want to jump in, I'll come to you for questions too, of course.
I'd love to jump in and just
say, Angelica, please
I was
ask something.
very moved by the honesty of that and relate to that in some way. And the interesting thing about pleasure and shame, and that those two things together, and that part of us that gets activated perhaps at a young age, and that go-to, what did you do to shift that? Did it start from inside, or did you have a rock bottom moment, or what happened?
You're asking when did it shift to sex not being about shame, or?
Yeah.
Well, it's a long.
Okay, so you're still. I'm assuming that.
Well,
I'm assuming that. So have you had a breakthrough in that?
Yeah, so, I mean, it took many years of a lot of low points. I think what a lot of people think about addiction is that you have to reach this rock bottom place. And for a lot of people, it is with alcohol and drugs most of the time. But for something like sex addiction, because sex is part of your life, you can't just give it up completely unless, I'm going to join a monastery or something. And so you have to find ways to use it moderately. And so, I tried lots of different things to get to a place where I'm healthy about it, but opening up about it, going to 12-step meetings, going to therapy, just sort of trying a lot of different things that would instill new habits in me so that I can break out of the habits that was kind of keeping me stuck in that same place. But, it's a lifelong kind of journey. Of course, there are some times when I feel like I'm back there in my head, and now I'm just more likely to, instead of using sex as an escape method, trying to see, okay, well, how am I using sex? Am I doing this because I want to, or am I doing this because I'm craving and I'm trying to escape something? I'm more willing to ask these questions now, where in the past I was sort of just on autopilot.
I think something that's really powerful is that you mentioned that there is a difference between sex addiction and other kinds of addiction. Because if you went to a lot of us have experience with recovery and understand what the process is like and how helpful that tool is. But how do you heal how do you recover from something when you do still want, it's like trying to learn how to not be an alcoholic but still drink. How would you do that with sex? How do you learn how to not be a sex addict but still have meaningful sex?
And I do think that some people can be alcoholics and learn to use alcohol in a healthy way as well. And for me, it was about recognizing the pattern, being honest about it, knowing that the addiction started as a method of trying to escape something and trying to address those things I was trying to run from in a healthy way, which I did that, as I said, through therapy, through 12-step, through journaling, through writing. And I did something called the Hoffman process too, which was a big part of my recovery, which is all about patterns. And I think you have to step away for a while. So, I had to stop watching porn for a while. I stopped sleeping around, all of the kind of things that I was used to doing that had become my regular habits. I had to replace those with healthier habits. And I tried a lot of different ways. Some people go to 12-step and then they think, this is the way out. But for me, it was a combination of efforts. 12-step in addition to a lot of different things.
It's what it takes. If you talk to most people who have had successful recovery, it isn't just one thing. They need to surround themselves with support, get into the program, get in the middle of the herd, as they say. I think people will be surprised to know that a lot of people will be surprised to know that there's a 12-step recovery program for sex addiction, sex and love addiction, right? Is it referred to as SLA or SLAA?
There's SLAA and then there's SAA.
And it must be that, is there a guide, like you said, of course you change the behavior. Part of any recovery program is this rigorous honesty, this turning to yourself and saying, I know what's happening. You're the only person that can do that. How do you get the strength to do it? I think that's what she was saying about rock bottom, is sometimes the strength comes from the memory of that god-awful moment. But with something like sex, where you still want to be sexual in a healthy way, how do you get to that point where, or for other people out there that might feel like they're struggling, what are the telltale signs that you're not handling your sex life in a healthy way, that maybe this is an addiction for you?
Well, I think everybody will have their own interpretation of what is healthy sex and unhealthy sex. And I am in no position to say, like, if you watch 20 hours of porn a week, then you're a porn addict, because I think that, if somebody just has a voracious appetite for porn, they can do that, and that's fine, if it's not hurting them and hurting their relationships. For me, I found that sex was something that I just needed to do to run away from things. And I also didn't know how to have relationships that were outside of the sexual kind. And that was a huge part for me, was just feeling so intensely lonely, even though I was having sex with lots of people and having these sort of like very casual, loose relationships. I didn't know how to have something deeper than that. And I really craved that sort of intimacy. And it's weird to be completely lonely when you're in bed with somebody. And that was just a regular fixture of my life. And I started to neglect friendships, family members, work. It was all about just, finding the person or finding the perfect porn clip to kind of get me to the next intense, orgasm or whatever it was I was looking for. And then I was just back on that ride again. It's just this continuous loop without ever feeling fully satisfied. And I just, had to think there has to be more than this. I have to feel more connected to people. I have to feel, less ashamed and, just more alive. And I was sort of feeling like I was a zombie, just kind of carrying through the motions. And
it's a lot like what you just said, if I heard you correctly. It's that it's not so much being able to say, it's 20 hours a week, that's what equals porn addiction. It's how is it impacting my life? Am I able to have, you were losing friendships, your family, you weren't talking to them. I mean, if anybody's out there wondering, do I have an issue? Is my content, how much of this I'm watching or how much sex I'm having? Maybe you take a look at your journal, and keep track of when these negative things are happening in your life, and is there some relationship between those things and, the amount of sex you're having, the amount of porn you're watching?
And also, do you feel empty after the sexual experiences?
Right.
I often was, left feeling empty or just left feeling ashamed. And I didn't want shame to always be part of the sexual experience as well. I mean, from those early experiences, like I said, I couldn't feel pleasure without shame. And I carried that for a really long time, where I would seek out, certain porn clips that would give me that like self-disgust feeling, like I need to find something sicker.
Really?
And then I would want people to treat me that way as well. So like, like he's being too nice. Like I want him to call me a slut or a whore. And afterward, I would feel awful about it, and that was a pretty good indication that maybe I shouldn't be doing this, or it's not healthy for me.
I guess it really is a go inside moment, right?
I have another question. What are some of the triggers, or what were some of the triggers that would bring this on?
Loneliness, poor confidence, social awkwardness, sadness, feeling numb, feeling like I needed excitement. Lots of things. I feel like it was my answer to most things. And I think that happens for a lot of people who have drinking problems as well. Other addictions, it's like whether I'm happy or sad or lonely, like there's always an occasion to search for this, to scratch that itch.
It can be celebrating, it can be, and the real trick in all of this is trying to know, you have to go internally and really investigate what are your motives. What is the reason that you're doing this? Because I could see a person making an argument who are, we probably will have people on that say, I love sex. I don't feel any shame. That the real problem here is not the amount of sex you're having or the amount of porn you're watching. It's your own mental feelings about it, your shame about it. Let go of the shame and you can enjoy this. And sometimes I think if you do that, I kind of have personal experience with this, it kind of does make it less interesting. I don't know how to say that. Like once you let go of all the shame, it takes away some of the, for me, this is something I relate to, is that, like the amount of pornography a person watches, the amount of sex they have, if it's attached to this escaping feeling that leads to shame, it would be better to just embrace this action that you're choosing to do, get yourself lined up, see how you feel about it without the shame, and then determine if you want it to be part of your life or not.
Right. Yeah. That's a pretty good way to go about it.
That would be a very roundabout way to do it. But what you said that made it so clear to me is if you're, again, outside of a fantasy setting where this would be okay, but if you wonder why a person would want to be, disparaged by their sexual partner, like, although that could fit into some healthy sex activity, I'm sure, as well.
Of course.
Not trying to send mixed messages, folks, I promise. I'm really not.
Whatever you're into.
We're trying to pull this stuff apart so that we're just trying to talk about it. Like, I just love that your book is so candid. It does not flinch. And I know millions of people. Well, tell me, what do you hear? Like, clearly as an author and sort of a, you put yourself out there as an expert on this, and to a degree, when you write a book, that's what you become, right?
Yeah.
So what is the feedback like?
Well, sometimes I get messages from people who haven't read the book and they think that I'm saying like it's an anti-porn book or an anti-sex book, and like maybe I found God. There's lots of these books that have been written about addiction where they've just like found the church now and they're like monogamous. And at the beginning of my recovery, I did think that recovery had to look a certain way. So going to 12-step meetings once a week, being in a monogamous relationship. But actually, after a while, I started to think that wasn't very authentic either. What I wanted to be was a sexually empowered, still experimental person, but not feel bad about those things and not hurt the people that I love and not neglect friendships and not neglect my work. And so it is about forging a healthy relationship with that, and it's not so black and white. And as I said, each person has to decide what's a healthy behavior for them and what's an unhealthy behavior for them. And that's going to look different, for everyone.
Right. And certainly how much religion you have in your history is a direct, I feel sometimes, reflection on that. How much shame you feel, how much shame were you raised to feel about it?
Yeah.
I'm like half Mexican, raised in the church, closeted kid. I know that whole story of shame. I mean, sex, what's that? You have to figure it out on your own. And then when you are figuring it out on your own, you find out, oh, this feels great, but I'm going to go to hell for this. I mean, those are terrible cognitive dissonance that I talk about a lot. Miss Mariah, I always like to make sure our engineer, she's always running the show over there, but she's always got beautiful insights. Do you have a question for Miss Garza?
I feel like I have a lot running through my mind.
It's a powerful story.
It really is. It is. And I too, I call myself a recovering Catholic.
She did say that, right? In her defense.
Yeah, no. And I have a lot of shame and guilt surrounding sex. I mean, I feel like I've kind of moved past it a little bit. Like, I'm able to have these conversations. Right. But there was a time when it was so scary to talk about.
Right. Totally taboo.
Totally taboo.
Let's talk about taboo.
Yeah.
Let's talk about why do you think that even now, I can bet when you started reading this, my mom is watching, and I know, hi Mom. I know that it crosses my mind that she's thinking, oh boy, her ears are perked up. And so even today, for a whole, generations of people and even young people, depending on how you're growing up, these things are still really hard to talk about. Why?
I think it's an American thing. I don't know. I feel like even in Europe, they're a little more open about having these conversations. I mean, even from the media, it was always weird to me that something like Walking Dead can be on TV, right? There's this like blood everywhere, like zombies biting off faces, like really violent stuff. But you can't show boobs because, and that gives people pretty fucked up ideas about sex. I mean, very early on, why? Why are we so squeamish about it? I wish we weren't, but we are. And I don't know why. I mean, I wish it wasn't, because I think it would have changed my trajectory.
Right. I remember as a kid, like anytime it would be like, how it's like, okay, it was always okay to show like a man from the back, like their butt naked. But even that, like my dad would like put his hands over my eyes, and I was always like, I don't really care. Like,
I mean,
it's a butt. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't care.
It's such a good point. It's like she's teasing a future story too, because she knows we're going to be talking about the rise of penis on American television here in a few segments. There's a tease, folks. But yeah, it's really well said. Like the people don't talk about things that are uncomfortable, but what made them uncomfortable? That's like, you don't know, and I don't know either. Why did this sort of very conservative thing happen in the United States? I mean, these people supposedly came over to, free themselves from religious persecution. That our whole country was supposedly started because of freedom of religion, and yet it feels sometimes like the United States it's a real dichotomy. There's a lot of hypocrisy happening here. And sex, for some reason, rather than the beautiful life-creating, joyous thing it is, has become this like forbidden fruit. And then, when things are forbidden, they're that much sweeter. And
Absolutely.
And so,
And I think that we just continue to repeat what we were taught. So, I felt awkward around sex because my parents had those sort of reactions, and I can't blame them completely because they took that on from their parents. And so I think it's up to each generation to sort of change the story. And so, I have a 5-year-old daughter, and she'll say penis and vagina in front of my parents, and they still act a little awkward, but it's like, well, those are body parts, like it's totally normal. And this is just the beginning
forehead, knee, penis, and vagina.
And it's a very easy thing to start with. And we have a book, it's called the 21st century, 21st century, the birds and the bees. I don't know, something about sex early on. And so it has the pictures of penis and vagina, and this is how babies are made and all this stuff. So I think just starting with that, demystified from the very beginning, this is nothing that we're ever going to be. We walk around naked in front of her. It's all just normal. But that was totally different from my parents, and so I think we have to make those changes. And it's not about placing blame or judgment on them. I'm sure I'm fucking up in lots of different ways with my own daughter, and she'll just do better next time,
We are all fucking up. There's no perfection. What do we say here? Don't let perfection be the enemy of fabulous. I'm curious. I think for people, I just want to ask a few more questions because I know people will find this. They'll hear your story and they'll want to know, how long did it take you to recover, and what does your life look like now?
Okay, so I was approaching my 30th birthday, and I had just ruined another relationship. And so I had lots of the same relationships that would get to a place where I started to feel quite close to the person, and like I might love the person, they love me, and then I would break it off. I'd sabotage it. And so this last relationship I was with was really important to me, and I fucked it up with a hand job with some guy on vacation. And so I was really upset about it. And I said, my 30th birthday is coming up. I want this decade to be better than the last. And so I decided to go to Bali because I just read Eat, Pray, Love.
Get it, girl. Get it.
And so
I like to recover in Bali as well.
It's good for that. You meet a lot of people on the same path there doing the same thing. So I went there, and at the risk of sounding like, New Age life saved me and yoga and all that stuff, as I was saying about the habits earlier, it did give me an opportunity to explore new habits. And so I started meditating a lot, doing yoga, and also the internet was a bit spotty. And so I didn't have as easy access to porn as I did before. And so that was actually really helpful because it's like, okay, I'm not going to wait for this. I'll just go and do something else. Okay, I'll just go to the yoga class. And so I was staying right next to a yoga class. And I started doing that a lot. And while I was there in this very kind of open-minded space where lots of other people were, searching for the same thing, I met the person who became my husband. And this is in no way going to turn into a he saved me, but it could have easily happened with, I think, a friend that I met or a teacher, but it just happened to be a guy I was into.
We weren't there. For all we know, you saved him.
Yes. Well,
we don't know his story.
So in fact. He was actually, recovering from alcohol and drugs as well. So we were both kind of in this like addictive space, trying to live healthier and be on a better path. And so from the very beginning of that relationship, I remember being freaked out and like feeling really drawn to him and him being drawn to me and scared and all these like big feelings, and just thinking, I'm going to be honest with this person. And it's not something that I usually do. I usually just like keep things really loose and casual. We have sex and leave. But I decided to be honest. And he ended up being the first person I told, I think I'm a sex and porn addict. And instead of him running away, which is what I feared with every person to discover these secrets about me, he wanted to know more. And it felt so good to just be...
He understood addiction.
Absolutely. And it just felt really good to be open like that. And I felt like, oh, this is how connection happens. It's not with just running away and all the other tactics I was trying. This is the thing I was hungry for a long time.
It must have felt like nirvana. Like it must have felt like the clouds open. Not that he rescued you, but that you changed your behavior. And then with that changed behavior came this, what they call cash and prizes, right? They call it the relationship that that you were able to be available to. It must be, and now that was, now you have a beautiful daughter who I know I've got to let you out of here soon to get her from school. Oh, yes. We like to honor all of our guests' time frames.
But anyway, that being able to open up like that with him and seeing how good that felt just made me want to explore that more and open up more. So I started going to 12-step meetings and I started to go to therapy. I did this thing, as I was saying earlier, I briefly said, I went to the Hoffman process, which is it's like a 7-day retreat. They say it's a lifetime of psychotherapy condensed to 7 days. And it's really intense, and it's all about identifying negative patterns and behavior, and then, connecting it with your parents and your caregivers who taught them to you, exploring their past, and this generational exploration. And then
it was positive in the Hoffman experience.
Very positive. And I did a lot of
link to that.
I did a lot of writing there, and that writing ended up leading to writing essays. And I started publishing essays about sex and porn addiction. And when I started writing that, people started reaching out to me, and I mean all ages. There was young teenage girls to like elderly men, and like all over the world, just lots of people saying, I'm so glad you're talking about this thing, because I felt the same way and I thought I was the only one going through this. And I just felt like this is something I need to be doing. Not enough people are talking about this, and all I have to do is tell the truth. Right. And I don't have to have all the answers. I just have to say, here's what I'm feeling, and other people will reach out to me, and now we'll feel connected and we won't feel so alone anymore. And that became a huge part of my healing. That's
part of what we're doing here. That's the mission here, is to get the conversations into the media that we believe are healing, that really lead to people's transformations. And I mean, I relate just so much of what your story says and is about. Do you have a question, Rachel? I feel like I'm seeing kind of a wink over there.
No, I just, earlier I thought I don't want to walk away from this, but the whole, if you want to take religion out of it, I feel like sexual education isn't great either, which leads to like an unhealthy, like, we're going to try everything, and
confusion.
Exactly. And it just, it's a wild
Do you ever
stigma.
go and speak to schools? Are you ever pulled into,
No. And actually, it's funny because my high school found out I wrote a book. I think that they just briefly heard from somebody and they didn't know what the book was about. And it's a Catholic high school, so they were like, "Maybe you want to come to teach to talk to all the students."
That gets applause.
And I was like, "Are you sure?
Are you?"
Sister Mary, I wrote a book on getting off, and it's not about meditating or prayers.
Meanwhile,
I mean, not directly.
They all read it.
So I told them, I'd love to come. And here's the name of it. Here's a snippet of what it's about. And then
they were like,
politely invited me.
I'm dying to know how that email was written.
Oh my God, wait, what did they say back?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I don't think the girls, it's appropriate. I don't know. Some kind of like they're too young.
Also, you spelled my name wrong in chapter 8. Because the shame starts young, let's be honest.
And I do write about the high school, so if they ever read it, they'd see themselves.
I bet you, I heard, over the years as a journalist, I've interviewed a lot of authors, and it is a common theme. It's like, have you read it?
Right.
Have you read it? Like you hear it all. Have you in the movie too? Oh, your soaps, Brokeback Mountain. I'll never forget. Some executive producer at CNN told me you had to do a story on the controversy over Brokeback Mountain, all these movie theater chains that aren't playing it. And I was like, there's one movie theater chain in Utah not playing it, a family-owned one that is like fine.
In Utah.
We love you, Utah. We do, but it's not a real story. Like you're trying to find something that's not there. But this has been really powerful. I'm really grateful for you because I think that you are doing something brave. You're putting it must have been that point where it went from essays, that healing process, and someone was like, I had a whole book about it where you were like, do I really, it's like becoming the poster child for this cause, which is powerful and beautiful, but also comes with a certain amount of weight and responsibility, right?
My husband calls me the world's famous wanker, so we can joke about it.
That's for you, husband. I got a rim shot in there. And everything, your story is powerful. People are going to be inspired by it. It was our very first taboo. It inspired our taboo. The Hoffman project, is that process? The Hoffman process. We'll link to that below.
We'll put it in the description.
Anybody else have anything? Final word?
I just want to say, I think it's very cool that as a woman you're talking about porn addiction, because I feel like if it's ever addressed at all, it's always to young men or just men in general. Yes. And it's something like, well, girls are too pure. They don't know what that is. They don't watch that.
Yeah, girls don't watch porn. Like,
right.
Come
girls
on.
don't have that urge. Girls are just here to, have babies. But like, we don't need to know how we get there. Just like, and seeing how that is through history. And of course, like things like, oh God, what is it called? Like, why am I blanking? Bridgerton. Of course, it's like a made up story, but like there's this huge taboo. Like one of the girls runs in and is like, how do you have a baby outside of marriage? And the brothers are like, and the mom's like, no, we don't, no, you don't, no. And right before the lead girl gets married, she's like, so you're gonna go in the room and you're just gonna lay there and he's gonna do what he does and da-da-da. And you're just like, so horrified. What? So I just, not to take it too far away, but I just think it's really cool to speak about it as a woman, because it's like, I feel like if there are girls out there who have ever looked it up, like, do I have a porn addiction?
Yeah.
It's some 20-something-year-old man who's like, I got out of it, and now I see women as these holy angels, as these like these untouchable, beautiful porcelain, and you're just like, that's not me, but like, thank you, like,
Yeah.
so.
Dangerous.
I was just going to say, and if they hear that a woman is addicted to porn, they immediately assume that it's because she was sexually abused.
Yes. Yes.
Which is something that,
Or she was asking for it, or she was
Right.
like already.
There's all sorts of,
Yeah.
they jump to conclusions.
Yeah.
Because they can't believe that a woman would just be into sex
Totally.
like a man would.
Totally.
It's a dangerous double standard if you think about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's what we were talking about with the
It
first story.
Yeah.
You know, like men also can be victims of sexual assault.
Absolutely.
Women are also addicted to porn and I'm sure in your process of healing and stuff, you met a lot of other women who could really relate firsthand that became,
Yeah, I met a few. I mean, I didn't meet as many because I think that a lot of women, and it's not because I don't think they're affected by it, but I think that
They're
they're
just
still
not coming forward.
hiding. Yeah, they're not coming forward. And I've been part of, a lot of different interviews and like series and stuff where the women want their faces blurred. And I'm like the only one in the room without my face blurred. But I understand because people will have all sorts of, ideas about her. And they've, after I wrote this book, I had like magazine covers that were quite tasteless in like The Sun and New York Post and things where it's just like making me seem like this freak because I'm this woman who had this experience. And it's fine, like if they want to skew it that way, but if I'm going to reach other women going through this, then I'll do it, because somebody needs to talk about it.
Absolutely.
I wanted
Brave,
to just
courageous.
ask you about isolation. That felt like something that was a big trigger, and for people that are going through that, right? What do you feel is the replacement for that isolation? Since you were seeking something from that was maybe a hole inside.
Well, just connecting with other people in
Right.
any way that you can. Yeah.
Right.
And 12-step meetings, I think, are a great place to start because you'll meet other people going through the same experiences and you'll be able to talk freely and authentically in those spaces without feeling like you're the only person going through it. And then you'll find that sort of connection just by being yourself and
Right.
showing the worst parts of yourself you wouldn't dare show anybody else.
So you feel like that's what really supported your own
course.
recovery, is connecting to yourself and then others?
Yes, absolutely.
That's
And
beautiful.
I mean, I can throw a solution oriented in there. Something that helped me personally with shame, and a lot of it associated with porn and sex and stuff, was finding a church that was teaching something different. That's what I found, a very positive, non-judgmental, gay affirming church that is not about painting sex in such a horrible way or such a shameful way, but rather, like we've been talking about it, very practical. And it does demystify it. And in doing that, in finding any social group, it's not to be a religious organization. It can be any social group that will help you make, that's like-minded to feel less lonely. And that is maybe one more tool that you can add to your arsenal.
Yeah, you'll have to share the name of that church with me because
the New Abbey.
I'm interested in. Okay,
I'll link to it
Yeah,
below.
I'm curious about that.
The newabbey.org. It is. I've looked for years for churches that are actually walking the walk when it comes to gay affirmation. And when you dig deep, no matter how cool they are, how hot that band is, and again, filled with beautiful people thinking they're doing the right thing, but when you really dig, it's not affirming. And when you get to on some level, the children of that church, and that's what I always come back to because of my childhood, are being taught that they're broken, and they're not. They're being taught that they are a sin. They, as a human and a being unto themselves, is a sin. That to me is so traumatic and damaging that I can't give a dime or a dollar to those churches. I will go and speak to anybody there and tell them my story and see if maybe they want to get to where this church is. But yeah, the New Abbey, thenewabbey.org. You can stream it every Sunday at 10 a.m. It's literally on, I say this all the time, just down the street. The fact that it's been there for 6 years and I just found it, it's been a lot of change has been happening around here too, and that's been a big part of it. So, well, Erica Garza, thank you again. The name of the book is Getting Off: One Woman's Journey Through Sex and Porn Addiction, and I can't thank you enough for joining us here on Gals, Gays, and Theys.
Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, I double hit that too fast. There we go. Now we're going to take a mindful moment because we always like to educate and inform, and so here is a little history lesson in gay milestones. All right. We are back. I just love reading those milestones and just to see how far the gay rights movement has come in the last century is pretty phenomenal. It's hard to imagine anybody not saying otherwise. And my little theory on that, if you want to know, is because it's been about love. You know, I mean, if you know, people come out of the closet and now you know someone who's gay and you love them, it's really hard to be prejudiced against them or a bigot, especially if they if their approach is loving. And I always say that too. Realize that when you're coming out to someone for the first time, especially if they're your parent or someone that loves you, you're also changing their life for the first time. So give them a beat to take it all in. But I side note, and let's talk now, Mariah. This segment that we're going into is one that has brought a lot of humor and a lot of joy to us, but also is kind of like it's on this theme that we're talking about. We've been talking about, you know, a show of double standards. You know, women aren't addicted to porn. That's a men's thing. Not true. Men are, you know, never the victims of sexual assault. Not true. But there's another double standard that's existed for a long time. Are we calling the story "Penis is the New Black"? Apparently, ladies and gentlemen, the male nudity, the full frontal male nudity is on the rise all across American televisions. Multiple articles have been written about it. Most recently, Gail Anderson, I saw on CBS Morning, had a good kick on it. Let's get into this. What is going on? Why do y'all think, and let me just actually back in a little bit more here. This is a story that we consider a nature story for obvious reasons. What's more natural? Dun-dun-dun.
Perfect.
What's more natural than the human body in its natural form? So shows from Euphoria, The Righteous Gemstones, and even just like that, HBO Max really putting out a lot of penis. But,
HBO,
yeah. But then Hulu took it to the next level.
Yes. Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Can we talk about... Would you please tell us what is going on in Hulu, Miss Mariah?
Man, when I tell you guys that I've been looking forward to Pam and Tommy coming out for a while. I mean, if you know me, you know Seth Rogen's like everything to me. I love Seth Rogen. I also love all the other actors in the show.
You know what? I'm so sorry. I totally am going to bump in. I totally did not do what I said I was going to do, which was introduce Rachel before this segment.
Talk about Rachel.
We're going to hear all these beautiful opinions on penis from a woman we haven't even met yet. Let's meet Rachel. I'm so sorry about that.
No,
but
all
you know
good.
what? This is a live stream. It's meant to be relaxed. We're not trying to do the TV thing here. In a way, we are with production quality, but not with how we handle little mistakes. Don't let perfection be the enemy of fabulous. Rachel Anderson, ladies and gentlemen, welcome her to GGT. Yay!
Hello.
All right, and I had it in my hand too. What is wrong?
That's okay.
So many moving parts.
I forgive you.
Rachel is the newest member of the GGT family. She is an extraordinarily talented hair and makeup artist, well trained. She helms from Minnesota, which is
is that your
oh,
accent?
you sure do.
Oh, I could do the whole thing as Minnesota Barb.
Let's hear it.
Oh my gosh! So my friend Barb and I were talking, and we decided we're gonna make hot dish, and I can't decide.
Hot dish?
Yeah, hot dish. They call
What's that, girl?
It's casserole.
Oh my god!
So you'll hear like tater tot hot dish is like a major
can we make that?
That sounds so
Yeah,
American.
we gotta
doesn't
do
it?
it.
delicious. You will not you have to be done with the day. It is a heavy, hearty, beautiful meal that is made because it is so cold. So it's to help keep you warm, and after you play outside in the snow all day, you can come in and have some tater tot hot dish, and it's delicious.
Oh my god!
Sounds really good.
I feel like the story
Anything with
told
tater
us.
tots.
This is a great way to meet you. Tell us a funny story, Rachel. Tell us. So what brought you out from the Great Lakes State? Wait, Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes.
Yes, we actually have more than 10,000 lakes. I don't remember what it is.
Bet.
But
Wow.
And about a bazillion mosquitoes.
oh my god!
I heard that joke
Just
somewhere.
a billion of them. Oh my god. So I moved to Los Angeles to do hair and makeup. There wasn't any specific job that brought me. It just felt right inside to it's time. I'm a grown woman. I have almost reached the ceiling in what I'm doing in Minnesota. There's not a whole lot of film and television opportunity. There's a lot of student film because the University of Minnesota, I believe, has a really good film program, but you can only do so many student films if you want to do anything else. And it was growing up, I loved watching movies and television shows and seeing all the the world that's created, and sometimes the BTS was more fun than the actual movie. And I found out one day, I don't know
What's
what day
BTS,
it was.
I was going to say
Behind the
BTS.
scenes.
Behind the scenes.
So
So I
like
thought
the
it was
gag
some
reel.
sexy thing. I mean, but that's just how I think.
So things like the gag reel, or like they'll like I very vividly remember as a child watching I think it's like 2003 Peter Pan. We're gonna talk about that later. But like
That went right over my head.
What's his name? Jeremy Renner.
names.
Nope, that's Hawkeye. Whatever. Something.
I'll look it up.
Okay.
Yeah, look it up for us. It's an incredible movie, and it's beautiful, and it's it's as our children talking about sex earlier. It's kind of a lot of our sexual awakenings because it's Anyways, it's
Jeremy Sumter.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. This was the source of a great
I'll pull up a pic.
attraction
for
a young woman coming from Minnesota.
We
got to throw a picture of Mr. Sumter up there.
So yummy.
Oh my God.
Hi, Jeremy.
I never saw this one. This movie skipped.
You
past
should.
it.
It's very
Wait, is this
good.
the one with Julia Roberts?
No, that's Mirror Mirror.
No. Julia Roberts was Tinkerbell.
Oh, in Hook. I'm sorry, in Hook.
That was it.
Yes.
Oh, I love Hook too.
This one is like kind of the first movie I remember watching, and it being the whole world being fantastical. So they showed you the sound stages of where they built Neverland, and how the home was on a sound stage, and how like how they made the kids fly and all those things, and it was incredible. And I was like, this is what people do. This is how people make money. Oh, I know what I want to be when I grow up. And so I like tried to find a way to get into that, and hair and makeup sort of found me, and so now I make movies.
I mean, look at that boy though.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, God.
Okay, now
okay.
this is a very young man.
This is 2003 though. We
Yes.
gotta
So you were
context,
little,
context.
and you saw this movie, and you were like, "Oh my God,
I gotta move to Hollywood.
I
Do this.
First of all, I was like, I need to marry Jeremy Sumter.
Aw.
Yeah,
he
was
dibs. And then
Holy cow!
fantastical
It
world.
did not get worse. This is
Oh, let's see him now.
this is him today.
Oh.
Let's see if we can.
He did not get less cute.
Let's see. You can pull it up, Mariah.
Oh.
Mariah will show our
face.
friends at home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yum. Yep.
All right.
Yep. So I feel a little less gross about sexualizing a 12-year-old.
Yes, thank you. Because he is now almost 30. This
Yes,
guy's
so
plenty
now,
old enough.
you know,
Yeah.
Yes. Anyways, so that movie is one of the visceral remembrances.
It is a memory.
Thank you.
It is.
Memory. God, the visceral memory of being like, a lot of work goes into these things, and a lot of like hands and artistry and craft and care goes into these things. So I found my way through hair and makeup, started doing student films in Minnesota, and then said, I want to do bigger things. Came here, did some more student films, but have done bigger student films, bigger things, and then music videos and things like that. That's actually how I met our lovely Angelica. But yeah.
She did a fantastic job.
For the record,
Yes.
Jeremy Sumter is 32.
Yes.
I like to be accurate
Thank
whenever
you.
I am reporting any news there. He was born February 5th, 1989.
Wait,
Wow.
it's his
In
birthday.
fact, happy
Oh.
birthday,
Tomorrow.
Mr.
Tomorrow
Jeremy
is his
Sumter.
birthday.
You were turning
Happy birthday.
33,
Okay.
I
Happy
guess,
birthday,
tomorrow.
Peter.
Fun fact, we both have the same birthday, which
Yeah.
is June 9th.
Going to birthdays.
Happy early birthday.
Thank
And-
you. 6 months early.
It's okay. It always works.
Yeah, and
Always.
share it with Johnny Depp,
Natalie
Natalie
Portman and Michael J. Fox.
and Michael J. Fox.
Wow.
Wow, that's
Iconic.
a good
So
day
there
to
is
be
a
born.
whole lot of Geminis
Really
on this
is.
couch.
So if any of those people would like to have a joint birthday party,
Oh my God,
we
that'd
can
be
make that
fantastic.
happen.
Yes.
Yes,
And before we-
right
Natalie
here.
Portman, I love you.
We'll get back to full frontal nudity in just a moment. Chat room. I see you.
We're coming back. We're coming back.
But something that you told me that it was you were shining a light on something that I didn't realize was happening, and I would just love for you to talk
Yeah.
a little about it because it's part of your intention for being here and doing the show.
Yeah.
Is this divide between trained, licensed film and television hair and makeup artists,
Yeah.
and then what people are doing on YouTube today, where they become a makeup artist unto themselves, like
Yes.
they are painting their own faces.
Yes.
Tell me about your mission.
So it's ever evolving as everything is, but it's this kind of divide between, if you break it down to the brass tacks of it, is the makeup artists who have clients or do other people's makeup versus the people who are online making content doing their own hair and makeup. And there are some makeup artists who very much believe those are not makeup artists in any form. They are makeup enthusiasts, I think is something I read someone called them one time. But it's not they're not real makeup artists, and kind of invalidating their passion and their love. And
because they're self-taught.
Yes,
that's the only reason they're not real. It's kind of like that.
Right.
The doctors say that all the time, or someone like
Right.
Western medicine takes so many years to be it, but you just came along and now you're a chiropractor and you think you're a doctor.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So it's just, I just don't think it's fair, because I absolutely see these YouTube and TikTok content creators, especially with TikTok being so big. Like, I don't know her last name, but Michaela, she's the Boston girl. She's all over everything. You can't tell me she's not a makeup artist because of her passion for makeup, you know, I mean, again, brass tacks of it all. Makeup is chalk and liquid. Like it's a thing. You can buy $10 version of it. You can buy a $400 version of it. Like it's in that same vein of, everyone has space in this community, and it's just finding the bridge in the community, and not invalidating the passion that we all have. Because we could have, you know, a film makeup artist, a TV makeup artist, a bridal makeup artist, and a makeup content creator all sit in the same room. And once we got over the like, well, I just sit in my bedroom and I do Steven Spielberg movies, whatever. We were all passionate about how it transforms the face, what you can do with it, the magic that comes out of it with it. Like, and some days I just want to wear glitter. It's a Friday and I just want to wear glitter.
Can we have glitter day?
I do.
I love glitter.
Yes.
I think every day should be glitter
Can we
day.
do like a Euphoria like makeup day?
Yes.
I would love that.
Yes.
So your mission is to bridge those two things?
Yeah.
In what way?
Just to change the language, because like any job, I like to think of it, okay, there are two little rocks I like to stand on. And one of them is that a career in the beauty industry is just as valid as being a lawyer or being a doctor or being like
it's an essential worker, girl. Like, let's just face it.
Do you remember the news?
My face today.
I did. Do you remember the news when when the pandemics first started and all of the news anchors all of a sudden had crazy hair and horrible.
Oh yeah.
You're right.
Tell me. I'm an essential worker.
100%.
Tell me.
You're providing a public service by making the faces that air on our television screens palatable.
It's really true, girl.
I remember the SNL. Remember when they started doing SNL from home? I was like, ooh. It is.
You can tell.
Yes.
You can tell.
Oh, absolutely.
It's one of those things that if I do a really great job, you're probably not going to say anything. But if I do a bad job, you're going to say everything about it. You're going to read it. Anyways, I lost my train of thought.
Well, what I love about you, and I don't know if we have this asset from her TikTok or if we have her TikTok up or whatever. What is your TikTok handle?
RA Media Makeup.
RA Media Makeup.
Yes.
Okay. So like Rachel Anderson, that makes sense. RA Media Makeup. It was so much fun because you are like pulling back the veil on your life. You're showing people exactly what you're doing, from getting ready in the morning all the way to the glam shots, which I get all excited about, because let's be honest, who doesn't like to look good? Everyone
absolutely.
wants and feel your best, but you still look good when you're not in makeup. Look at Alicia Keys. She's doing a whole thing with no makeup and she looks gorgeous. So you can
She's still wearing makeup.
embracing your beauty however that comes to you, having fun, not having too many rules for yourself. I think that's all part of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's when I was in makeup school, one of the things was there really are no rules. There are definitely guidelines, and there are definitely which it's kind of hard to make that blanket statement, because once you get on film and television, you do have to wear a little bit more makeup. You do have to, make sure the colors are palatable and all that stuff. But if a winged eyeliner and a red lip makes me feel beautiful, but it doesn't make, if you don't think a red lip looks good on you, that doesn't make either of us wrong. That's just the
it's
preference.
art. That's
it's
art.
Art. The art.
The artist.
The
makeup and hair. You're not just makeup. You do hair too.
I do hair.
You got properly trained in both, and then went and worked for the place that trained you, right?
Yes, I did. Yes. So I went to beauty school right out of high school, had a fabulous time, worked in a salon for 9 months, did not have a fabulous time, then went to makeup school at Faces Etc. of Minnesota. If you're looking for a makeup program, I'm going to shout them out really quick. I'm going to take this. Yeah.
We'll link to them below.
Follow this. Go to this school. It's in Minnesota. It's a 4-week program. It's incredible. But I went to the school, 4-week program, got out, and then shortly after started teaching.
Wow.
Yeah,
I think you're so good at that. I've been asking you little
after 4
tips,
weeks, you started teaching?
Longer than that. I did some in field. It was probably a year.
What was it called again?
Faces, etc. of Minnesota. Oh,
See
she's
that?
great.
It's got a big kiss mark. Their lips.
They're fabulous. The owner's
Lipstick.
fabulous. I'm obsessed with her.
Great.
We text all the time.
Do you give tips?
That's so fun.
Like
all
little
the time.
like
all the
on
time.
your TikTok.
I
give little
need
tips
to.
or
So-
because I think you're fabulous. I love you have these little statements that you do, like pivot when we couldn't find something today. And you were like pivot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But the teaching of it and the passion and the joy that you have.
And I love to teach it. It's one of those things that it has never
Interesting.
It
She loves to teach makeup, and yet we have a whole segment called "How to Build a Drag Queen."
We do.
Yeah, maybe.
I see a feature coming up on your skill set as a teacher there.
Yeah, how fun is that?
But I love to teach it because it's one of those things that I started makeup in high school with YouTubers. That's the other part of my whatever is watching Jaclyn Hill, Manny MUA, all those people. And I absorbed all of that information because I wasn't allowed to wear makeup till I was 14. And once I did, I said, Mom, I'm wearing eyeliner. And she said, okay. And I wore eyeliner. But I learned how to contour, what brushes to get, what you needed as just for my personal makeup. And then realized that they were getting paid to do it. So I pretended to be a YouTuber. I think I've made 12 YouTube videos that never saw the light of day, but they were all like, hi guys, I'm having
and
my
the rest of
coffee."
America.
Yeah.
Oh, who didn't try to be
Exactly.
a YouTuber?
Hello.
I definitely tried. Hopefully those videos are
2013.
not anywhere to be found.
There's tumbleweeds blowing across my original
I have a few videos out there that I hope no one ever sees.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just all self-important. I'm having coffee. Okay, so is the rest of America. But so I got into it that way. I lost my train of thought. I'm so excited. I lost it all.
We love that. That's okay. Totally accepted here. I think you were saying you got into makeup in the first place because
of YouTube and because of all that. And so I was self-taught, and it's not. I'm not invalidating my own career or anyone's, but it's not a hard skill. It's not to basically do makeup. It is not. I mean,
I could see people saying it comes easy to you. For you, maybe it's not a hard.
I feel like you need some type of artistic ability. Or
I need to bring up some of my
because lashes be
artistic vision
all over the place.
I'm going to show you some of my original work on myself as a drag queen, and then you tell me it's not a hard skill to learn.
Okay, let me take that back. For me, it is not a hard skill to learn. It just clicked in an almost magic sort of way of. She showed me one time to do circles instead of back and forth, and I was already pulling it all out. I was already of course I wasn't incredible right out the gate, but I understood at a base knowledge level what she was talking about.
Right.
So I was like, this, I can't ignore this magic. I can't but makeup isn't a real job. It is. But in the back of my head, makeup isn't a real job. I got to figure something else out.
Oh, it's definitely a job. I know how much I've spent on makeup over the years. Someone's getting paid. Mm-hmm. So I was just thinking Christy, who when she's gonna, these two are gonna click because she's our branding and marketing expert. Oh, you met her yesterday. Yeah. You too, because I could see. Part of your story too is that you're embracing technology, you're embracing social media, you're showing people your skills, and so you're genuinely a content creator as well. It's why this was such a beautiful match, because I'm we love making content.
Yeah.
You've got a skill that lines right up, and so we're just so honored and so grateful to have you here joining the GGT family.
Yay. I'm so excited to be here.
Your energy is amazing. Because when you're going on camera or you have a project or what have you, people are nervous, and you were talking about that. You have all these different things that are running through your head and who's touching your face or who's around you. Your energy, I was closing my eyes today, and it's magical makeup fairy.
She fell asleep.
Yeah, I was
I've had people fall asleep
meditating, and then I just felt her energy, and it was shoo, magical makeup fairy goodness.
I mean, I bet
and I'm
sometimes
feeling it right here.
Our last guest was talking to us about the triggering effect of loneliness, right?
Yeah.
There's so many lonely people out there. I bet sometimes someone will sit in your chair, and you can tell that maybe you're the only person who's touched them in a week.
Yeah. It's that's, I don't want to say the darker side, because it births these beautiful moments, but it is it's the same thing when you go get your hair done. You as a hairstylist, you have probably spilled your guts about something you did not have any intention of bringing
she knows where
to
all
the
the bodies are. And And she knows
Yeah,
what.
girl.
I cannot confirm or deny. But I mean, I've had people, on a film, I had this woman sit in my chair, and we'd been doing probably like 12 days of this film, and it was starting to wear because like things were just going on, and she was sitting in my chair and I'm doing her makeup, and she starts crying, and she just like tears. Her eyes are closed. I'm just going to close my eyes. I said, great. She just started crying. And I was like, are you okay? And she goes, what are you talking about? I said, you're crying. She had no idea. She's like, I just felt such a release of just sitting here and being like, I didn't have to be anywhere else. I can just sit here and let you do your thing. And I was like, I'm so honored that you felt you could share that. And now I'm going to cry. And so we had a moment of just like, I understand the weight of letting, like, your face is a very intimate thing. You don't just let a random stranger come up and touch your face. Otherwise, you're going to get punched. Some people are going to get punched.
Absolutely. But your energy is so healing.
Just like yours.
And when we met, I had one of those moments.
Yeah.
I was crying in the chair. I had held it together with the production and so much pressure in my life.
Totally.
And there was a moment where it just started to happen.
Totally.
And she was like, okay.
And
right.
I don't
like,
care
okay.
if production is down my ass. I will, no, we need a minute.
Right.
We need a minute.
Yeah. She just
and I
held
will
space.
I can't figure out how to do eyeliner today. You can go away for 10 minutes. And we need a minute.
They're the protectors. If you...
Mama
yes,
set.
I felt that
Hair
from
and makeup.
you.
I was going to say, and
Right?
also like hair and makeup, first people on set, last people to leave.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, they need more credit.
They really do.
They really do.
Can you say that louder and put it in bold text?
I've been blessed to work with so many makeup artists over the years, because all these years of interviewing celebrities, usually at press junkets at hotels, you go and there's makeup artists set up, and it feels really glamorous and amazing because it is a privilege, but it is also very personal.
Yeah.
And it gets there. You talk about personal things.
Yeah, and it's I mean, I've heard some secrets, I've heard some tales, I've heard some, and even just to process, like I always like to go to people who aren't in the moment, if I'm going through something, and hear an outsider's opinion who doesn't know that, well, actually she's kind of crazy, but but just to like, I've had actors ask me if they should audition for multi-million-dollar projects, and I'm like,
Really?
Yes. And I have said, I'm like,
not only should you,
when
you're cast, you should get your own hair and makeup artist.
You should demand I will
in the
be there.
contract.
Exactly.
Yes.
I mean,
and break a leg.
Exactly. That's kind of the biggest question
Yeah.
I've ever had asked. But I know of people who have had crazy things happen in their chair. People have all of a sudden realized things have come out. Things have it's a crazy. It's a chair where I touch your face with a brush.
Right.
And
yet it's so intimate. Yeah.
It's wild.
Cathartic, as they say.
There is a feeling, though, that, first of all, your energy and like I said, your energy is so amazing, but like there's a familiarity, right?
Yeah.
And then that crossing of the fourth wall. And then, of course, during COVID, we're all far away from each other. And so when we met, it was in the middle of that, right?
Yeah.
So it was really wild
Yeah.
to be touched like that. Like
Yeah.
I found myself extremely sensitive in that moment, and then you're breaking that fourth wall, right? But also the feelings that come up about how you look, how you feel about yourself, all of the insecurities. I know a lot of makeup artists, and they're some of my clients, and on a big scale, and they deal with that. They deal with all that negativity, And so here you get to just play and hang out with us and actually talk. It's not all about the other person.
Yeah, because a lot of the times
you're listening.
I stand on my soapbox when I can, but like I'm listening because it's not about me. It's not about.
Is there a union that you guys are?
Yes, there is the local 706. But you have to. It's a wild to get it. It's kind of hard to get into. But it's on my list. I'm working on it.
Oh, you'll be there. I'm just thinking, like, there's strength in numbers. Like,
absolutely.
This community of artists does need a voice.
Absolutely.
And you're a great one for that. I see you, live chat. I see you. And we're getting back to full frontal nudity. I promise. But before we do that, we should take another mindful moment. Now you've met the incredible Rachel Anderson. Yay! She's here, part of our team. We love her. And when we come back after these gay milestone history moments, we will be talking about the surge of full frontal male nudity on American televisions. Stay tuned. We are back. We are back. I'm still getting used to my little stream deck here, which is, anchors and news people of the world. You're missing out. It's so cool to be able to trigger sound effects and things from your table. So as promised, we are going to discuss the absolute surge. I want to keep saying rise. The rise in the male form across American television screens, and really probably global screens, because I think streaming has a lot to do with this this spike.
Yeah. Spike.
Talk to us.
Oh God.
This story. What's funny is I pitched this story at an editorial meeting like 2 weeks ago, and then a week after that, so I saw it was covered on CBS Mornings with the Tony DeCopel. He was the perfect guy for the story. I love seeing how they squirm around.
I was
gonna
say you could tell that they were kind of uncomfortable talking about it.
And then it was on the cover of USA Today, and then Vogue did a piece, and now 2 days ago Hulu releases Pam and Tommy. Pam and Tommy. Tell us
on
about
Hulu.
it.
Yeah, it was just released on the 2nd. There's 3 episodes out. I would encourage everyone to go watch it. It's so good.
Oh, it's good.
It's really good. I mean, besides the penises,
Sebastian
it's just
Stan.
a good show. Lily James, Seth Rogen, Nick Offerman.
Great cast.
It is, and I mean, it's a story that I didn't know super well, probably because I'm younger and I wasn't alive when it happened.
Oh my God, you weren't alive when the tape came out?
No, I was
not.
That is 1995.
Oh,
damn.
I wasn't even around yet.
I was not. So this was kind of a new. I mean, obviously, I know Pamela Anderson. I know Tommy Lee. I know them.
They didn't feel like it was that long ago. Did it?
I know, and now it's like a thing.
And now I'm
were you
like,
here
she's
when the
younger
tape
than
came
the
out?
Pam sex tape.
I am.
Wow.
I am.
That's crazy.
So it was fun, kind of going into it with like fresh eyes because I didn't know much about the story. But the show was great. Super well done. The acting is phenomenal. Lily James plays Pamela Anderson so well.
She looks incredible.
Crazy. Yeah. Let's talking about makeup. Like, wild.
It's amazing what they can do with makeup. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
prosthetics and wigs and a lot of trained
prosthetics,
by actors.
Definitely. But yeah, I was just watching it casually, and I knew we were going to discuss penises today, and I was watching it last night, and then
get ready for the sound effect, JD.
I mean,
oh yeah. Did we get the? Oh,
no, not that one.
No, not that one. That's if you can reach the doorbell, then you're doing great.
Wow.
Can I just show these Pam and Tommy?
Oh God.
Okay. Can I just say I had to use 2 eggplants?
2 eggplants
to cover
for Tommy.
It. For Tommy.
And we should be specific. The
2
eggplants. The reason we're starting with the Hulu, Pam and Tommy series, which came out this week, is because literally there's a whole scene where Tommy Lee, the Sebastian Stan, who's playing Tommy Lee, has a full-on conversation with his unit.
Yeah, and his penis is talking back.
And it's talking back.
Wow.
And full conversation.
What did it have to say?
Eye contact. A lot of eye contact.
Nothing
wait, you and me, kid.
What are they talking about? They're like debating something.
Tommy Lee is like, I'm in love with her. I love her so much. They had sex for the first time. He's in love. And his penis is like, no.
Oh, yeah. You could have Jenny McCarthy.
Yeah, you could have so many other women. You thought all the other women were cool. And Tommy's like, no, I love her.
Yeah.
And it's just back and forth.
Now, can I ask a question of the makeup artist in the room?
Yes.
Would that be something that you would have to put makeup on?
So the whole member, we'll call it, is fake. It's a prosthetic.
Right, of course.
And especially this one because it's got like an armature, and there's probably there is probably a special effects man sitting over there like watching it playing a video game.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Lead dick. He's the lead dick guy, right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
He's like, I've been playing video games my whole life. I love this.
He was born for this.
Yeah. So Sebastian Stan is probably wearing like a courtesy sock or some sort of
or probably just
panty.
like a green screen. Like I feel like
maybe
that it was digital. I don't know if
I have to watch it
prosthetic.
again.
Yeah.
Because like some of those like it whips
moved.
around.
Yeah.
That's
Wait, like it's that much that you've seen it?
It's a whole
we should
scene.
watch it.
It moved.
Okay,
Let's watch it upstairs. We should watch it.
Let's watch it after the show.
But they're not all clearly prosthetic.
No.
I mean, they are, I would say probably most are. But you definitely see scenes. Usually it's more when they're just flaccid and they're in a shower or there's something where they're walking by where like
Elite.
Euphoria.
No, not Elite.
Right?
Michelle's on, by the way. She's like, oh my God, I have to watch it. Yes. Of course she comes in right now.
Michelle showed up for full frontal nudity.
Yes,
welcome, Michelle.
You're committed to the
like
cause, girl.
I do too. But so we had that slide from the Hulu show Pam and Tommy, which has a whole episode where they're talking, where he's talking to his own penis, and then several other shows right now. There's like HBO Max, really, if you think about it. HBO Max coming out swinging hard, coming out swinging.
They're up at bat
for frontal. At least 3 shows that I've seen the last month: Euphoria, The Righteous Gemstones, and As You Like. Wait,
lots of eggplants today, everyone.
What's the new Sex and the City series called?
Oh my god!
Just like that. That one.
God, that's impossible to remember.
So yeah, there's a little full screen.
That one was really nice.
Euphoria. Yeah,
so
Euphoria.
if you're looking at this,
oh my god!
If you're
Look
looking
at that eggplant.
Yes, if that's
wow.
screen. So the.
Oh my god!
That's not even like a quarter of the times
these
they
are all
show
from
it.
Euphoria, right?
Yeah,
we're talking about
really
Euphoria.
hot.
Yeah, there's a lot more penises on Euphoria than this.
Oh, many.
It's like every episode. You could play a drinking game.
Yes, every time. Yep.
I mean, I bet there's people playing a drinking game.
Let's play
if you're out there and
game.
you're playing a drinking game, well, have a shot every time we see a unit.
I mean,
you won't make it to the end of the episode sober, I'll tell you that.
I will tell you what, the eggplant takes up the entire screen. And it's actually hurting my eye right now.
It's so I have a question for all of you. What do you think about this? Do you feel like, is it offensive? Do you find it liberating? Or you feel like, oh, the world's finally equalizing a little bit because we've been looking at women naked on screen forever?
Oh, you look like you have a lot to say, girl.
She's ready.
I can't wait to hear.
So I think it helps because, I mean, there are several movies, I of course can't think of a single one of them at the moment, but where there will be an intimate scene and you see all boobs, all butt, and maybe a little bit of chest hair from Mr.
Oh
Man.
my God,
That's
right?
it. That's all you see of him. You don't see
like
and
50
which is a
Shades of Grey.
crushing disappointment to gay men everywhere.
Is a movie about sex.
Straight with
Indecent Proposal, right?
Yeah.
No, not Indecent Proposal. What's the one with Sharon Stone?
Oh, Basic Instinct.
I mean, you saw all the way up, all the way
fully.
inside, right?
Yeah.
And that was the most shocking thing that probably had ever
Back
happened.
in 2000,
Right?
whatever that was.
And
That's
it
the
was-
90s. No, that was way a long time ago.
And
Yeah.
apparently, she didn't know that the camera was going to go in there. That was completely, she was told it was going to be tasteful. And that close up and what happened there. I mean, that's like an assault, right?
Yeah.
So at that time, that was over the top.
Yeah.
Now this.
Do you think she was at the premiere and was like, whoa, or she really saw it beforehand?
I mean, I'm sure
she
at
might not
some
have known,
point
but hopefully
she
somewhere she
knew.
signed up. I feel
I'm
like
sure.
I
it's
hope
pretty-
at least an hour before.
No, but it was
It's
a
like, girl,
big-
you gotta know. it's all up in there.
It was a big thing, and I remember seeing it at the theater, and I saw it at a theater in a neighborhood, and man, it was crazy. They went nuts when it happened. People stood up and went, whoa, oh my God. And they were like, damn, girl. Like, it went crazy.
Really?
And I was a young person, and I was like,
wild.
yeah. And so now we're having this
Here was
other
that.
extreme, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the pendulum swinging pretty hard the other way.
Yes. okay, you guys.
That genuinely, you guys.
Basic Instinct came out in 1992. I can tell you, I was 15, and I was not old enough to have the experience that I had watching that movie because it was with my parents at the cinema. And
Wait, you went to see Basic Instinct with your parents?
because we were on vacation.
That says a lot.
in
The internet wasn't
Oceanside
around.
at this timeshare we used to go to, and there was one cinema, and it had 2 screens.
Oh, yeah.
And one screen was playing Basic Instinct, and one screen was playing something I guess I'd already seen. And so
Oh
my
my
parents were like, "Oh, it's just
God.
R-rated. I'm sure you
Oh
can
my
see an R at
God.
15." You know, they
Right.
were with me.
Up to that point, it's probably R-rated because of violence.
I think I had like my mom smack, like fingerprints on my eyes from where my mom was like, "Whoa!" And then she did it to her husband. She was just making sure no one saw
She's
it.
probably like squeezing her eyes shut at the
And
same
you
time.
would think they would learn because once upon a time, the very first time I ever saw a woman fully nude was in the movie Risky Business with Rebecca De Mornay. And it was because my parents took me to see it, thinking, oh, I'm sure it's going to be fine. It's not fine. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, it is fine.
It is, except
is fine.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't see anything of Tom Cruise in Risky Business.
Never.
But you see her.
Her entire
all of it.
double
So
standard.
normalized.
That's my angle on this. Like I'm not complaining. I
No.
love sex. I love the human body. I'm gay. I think men's bodies are gorgeous and beautiful. I think it's hilarious too. I heard a line once that said like, you know, the reason that women are celebrated nude is because the woman's body is like art. It's like beautiful and curvaceous, and men naked look like a partially decorated Christmas tree.
Oh my God. Who you been with,
Where
girl?
was that line from?
Oh, we could talk about. Oh, Jesus.
Oh my. Okay.
Angelica. Wait, let's get to this next show. Because
Yeah.
the reason this is important too with the Sex and the City scene is that full frontal male nudity is sometimes just used, I think, as a way to be edgy
Or comedy.
Or sometimes educational.
Like forgetting Sarah Marshall. There was a member
That's
there.
hilarious.
And that was a really good
I love
one.
That was back when it was so rare that it was so shocking.
Like bam, and
Like,
it was
so
a
you got
shocker.
the shock out of it.
Isn't it funny and weird that I remember all these moments? That's kind of weird.
It's not. I think it's because it stands out. I mean,
It does
soon you
stand
won't be
out.
able to. There's so much
Right.
unit on American screens, you won't be able to.
No.
Here in this reboot of Sex and the City that's on HBO Max now, this scene where Harry is got that eggplant out, that's Charlotte's Charlotte's man,
Wow.
and she is she was helping him with something, and then she
Helping him out.
Well, it was about to be a sexual act. Then their young a daughter, like kind of teen daughter, kind of opens the door,
Lily,
like oh,
whatever her name is.
and so she runs out and says that I was checking him for cancer. But then she has this guilt about, am I teaching my daughter to not be sex positive, to not like
Right.
what's wrong with
Yeah.
with a loving couple being in this moment? They were in a restroom, the door was closed, So the whole show, that whole episode, well, not for her storyline, is a lot about that. I think that's an interesting use of it.
Right.
Totally.
I agree. That was really well done. And also, who doesn't like eggplant parmesan? I mean, eggplant's my favorite nightshade.
So then back to you, because in that particular scene with those two, actually, Mariah, throw that back up there because I want to distinguish between the two. So the one photo on the left is where, it was clearly a prosthetic.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't even like the right color, I don't feel like.
Yeah.
But the one on the right was not.
Yeah.
It was a very quick moment with Carrie. This guy's not a
It
regular.
looked very real.
He's not he's gorgeous, but he's just the boyfriend of her downstairs neighbor. This will be the last time we probably see him on the show. And he just drops his towel and you get this quick moment.
Yeah.
In that moment, is the hair and makeup artist have to like make sure that his weenie's not shiny?
Powder?
I feel like
Oh my
That's a
God,
quote.
that's a great gig for you.
Oh, God.
or is a different makeup artist brought in just for that? Or do you give him a powder puff and say, go to the bathroom and make sure you're not shiny?
Are you called a fluffer if you do that?
No.
Oh,
No. Okay, I'm gonna claim. I don't know.
Okay.
Because
You haven't been called for that job yet.
I haven't been called for that job. Anytime that there has
Could
been any
happen.
sort of sexual act in a film I've been on, there's been an intimacy coordinator, and usually what that, and so like
that's
what'll
cool.
happen is I'll do them outside of the room before they're ready to go, and then they go in, and I'm not allowed in unless I'm given special permission by typically the actress.
That's good, though.
But which is incredible.
Yeah.
I'm at the ready in case okay, we put your clothes on, Rachel's coming in, but I don't think you would have to, because like the only time I think makeup is required for male members is the application of a not real one.
Oh, I see. To make sure it matches.
To make
A
sure it
prosthetic.
matches. To make sure it's.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. So
I mean, and all joking aside, I mean, things are meant to be realistic. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know if you are familiar with this, like French. There's a very famous calendar called the French Rugby Calendar. It's an annual fundraiser that all these actual players from the French rugby teams. If I'm telling you about this for the first time, you're gonna love me once you go Google it.
Okay, we gotta check this out.
French Rugby Calendar. So there's behind the scenes, BTS, we're bringing that back, video filming of the photography that went in to make the calendar.
Okay.
So those are available online. And you see the makeup artists just like on their butt, like on their leg. Like they're not even, it's like they're touching a canvas. They're not even.
You have to, yes, you have to take that is a penis 3 feet away from my face. You have to take it out of
Be professional. Be professional.
Be professional.
Right. Have you ever been that close to that?
No.
Like in a setting like that?
The closest I've been was on a film I was on. They needed me to run in and make one of the girls look oilier, and the guy was wearing a sock. Like that's the closest. And you just have to to protect yourself and protect the actor. You just kind of have to. This is
it's a professional environment. If it's
everyone
been done
in the room is aware that this is uncomfortable,
right?
And I will have like we were talking about earlier. I will have a moment with the actors. You should be like, if there isn't an intimacy coordinator, because there hasn't been a few times, and you need to call a tap out, holler, and I will run in there. And you forget that they're naked. You forget they're naked 3 minutes in.
Right.
Yeah.
There's the shock of it at first, and then you're just like,
it's just
that's
sort of
just
like
my
real
buddy.
life.
yeah.
But speaking of intimacy coordinators, I would love to hire one for my life. Can you please tell me if there's a freelance intimacy coordinator?
Their job is so
as a
interesting.
guest.
That's great.
Yeah, that
oh,
is
heck
really
yeah. That
interesting.
is a good. Let's write that down.
Yeah, write that down.
But that
Their
could be
job is incredible because they will choreograph an entire sex scene and then stand there and watch and make sure, like, if they're a great intimacy coordinator, it'll be like, is this okay? Is that okay? Is, what is your no areas? What is your...
This actually gets us into Euphoria perfectly.
Yes.
Because Euphoria has, I don't know if you guys have been reading these articles, like Rolling Stone just did a whole thing where they're sort of saying that it's, was it Jump the Shark? Has the show completely gone off the rails? I mean, there isn't an episode without full frontal nudity in it at all.
No.
And so, I'm wondering if you think that the use of full frontal male nudity can also be like maybe one of the actresses was Sydney Sweeney. She was quoted as saying that the creator was a lot of this nudity wasn't required.
No.
Like, can we just
It's gratuitous at some point, right?
She did say that in season 1, where when she had her first nude scene in season 1, she had said, showing this intimacy between me and this, like, her boyfriend on the show, she was like, yeah, I would have gotten naked in real life. So yeah, I'll be nude. And like, it totally makes sense for me to be nude in this scene because she's like, would I do it in real life? Yeah.
But even then, the choice of where to put the camera is still the filmmaker's choice.
Yeah.
Who is it? Sam Levinson?
Sam Levinson has been, there's been a lot of stuff about over-sexualizing Sydney Sweeney specifically.
I wonder if the season 2 spike in male nudity has anything to do with trying to, like, he's trying to balance it out.
Right. Well, she said that she, like, read most of the scripts, if not the entire season, and there were moments where it said, and, Cassie is topless, and he's like, why? She says, why?
Yeah.
Right.
And he's like, well, if you don't want to, that's fine. Like, it's not important for this.
That's
it's just,
good to hear.
So he's been listening, and the other actors have come out and said, like, no, it is a very safe environment where if I don't think it's necessary, if I can give, a valid reason that isn't just, my nipples look bad today.
The Euphoria, the whole topic of Euphoria I'm on a text chain with a lot of friends. Shout out to cowpokes out there. It has been, it's all me and 14 women. I think, maybe there's 13 of us total, but it's just me and a bunch of my female friends that, and a lot of them are moms of children of different ages, and the opinions about Euphoria and what is being depicted on that show and those storylines has really encouraged a lot of healthy debate, I think.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? What do you all think? Sorry. Also, is guys something that I shouldn't say?
I don't know. I had the same thought.
I might as well say gals. The show's called Gals Gay. What do you gals think?
Guys?
Yeah.
I don't know if guys. I learned once in college that it's a microaggression to use guy because it's a male.
Yeah, I don't personally like that when I go to a restaurant and they're like, hey guys, what else would you like? I
girlfriend.
really don't like that.
You're like, well, first of all, I'd like you to recognize that I don't have a penis.
Right, exactly.
Secondly, give me some egg rolls.
Well, maybe,
or whatever. No, so that I do ask that question. Like, what do you think about Euphoria's, like, the direction of the show? Are y'all watching it?
I haven't watched this season, but I've watched the other one.
This season is like way more intense.
Yes.
This season is... It's
right out the gate.
That's a good word, intense.
Yeah, it's an intense show. And even Zendaya the other day went on her Instagram and was like, we love that you're all supporting, but this is a heavy season. Right. And if you can't make it, no one's going to hold it against you.
I love that she did that. Yeah. She was like, don't worry. If you don't want to watch it, it's okay. And
we still feel the love. We still feel the support.
Because she does have a lot of, like, she has a
young
wide
fans.
group of fans,
yeah.
but also
like
there are young people that I think not necessarily like young people can't watch it. I don't think that. But
how old do you think you should be to watch? I don't like the word should. I don't mean to should all over you guys. What do you think would best serve families? Do you think that families would be best served by saying, okay, look, if you put this, you can't put this genie back in the bottle. It just sweetens the fruit.
Right.
Your kids are going to figure, these are smart 21st century kids. They're going to have access to the show. Is the right thing to do to watch it yourself and then contextualize it for your kids? And I mean, you could really ruin it for your kids if you just try to watch it with them.
Totally.
But what, or do you think, no, it's really, is there an age that, in your opinion, is the right age before this is appropriate?
Yeah, I don't have an idea about age, but
there's no moms in the room.
I
Look around.
I don't really think
Why don't we
so.
ask the Dynamos? Hey, Dynamos, you guys put it in the chat.
I don't
we would
really
love to hear from you.
believe-
I know at least one mom is watching right now.
Right.
So, what are you thinking?
I personally don't really believe in censorship.
Okay.
Yeah.
With my experiences, and I think if you look at America versus other countries, like, censorship isn't good. I just don't think, and that's my opinion.
But I mean, is it censorship for a parent to say?
I think that if you're a parent, like, you do what you feel is right.
Sure.
Like, I'm not saying anyone should do one way. I just think for me, I wouldn't want to teach censorship
I see what you're saying.
at really
Yeah.
any
Any
age.
age.
Well,
Right.
I was, blocked from seeing this kind of thing, but then there was, Playboys and Hustler at
Right.
one family member's home all over the place.
Right.
And so I had a mixed messaging with that. Like, can't watch this, and then it's just everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
And I think that the fact that it's becoming so prevalent, it feels a little strangely timed with what just happened with the Me Too movement. Like, you can't help but think, like, we've gone after the toxic male, we've gone after the patriarch, and now all of a sudden there's penises everywhere. Like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like we're
That is
we're
interesting.
we're, we're sexualizing men in a totally different way now after we slam them for hurting others. And I just think there's just something there.
Maybe
because
there
look
is.
at
Like,
look
there's-
at look at how the females
Something
was
there about objectification, right?
right. Women
Yeah.
were objectified, and in the 60s and 70s
And then
there's
it
a
taught
big
a pattern of behavior that led
Yeah.
men to be Me Too-ish, and now we're saying, well, let's objectify men too.
right, and it's just
Wow.
it just feels because when I was growing up, the women's liberation movement was anti-porn. It totally was a negative messaging for women, and I would walk in the streets of New York City and see lots of women and men marching with signs against pornography all over the city. And that was a whole thing, right?
Really?
And and it was just totally objectifying women. It led to assault, it led to rape, it led to all of these things.
Yeah.
And now we're on this other side of things where it's like, oh, we're just going to throw it out there, and it's getting all this attention, right? It's making money.
And it is true. I mean, you're making a valid point, because I'm talking about it in a really lighthearted way. Like even, and if
Well, I was earlier as well.
yes, no, but I think it's worth thinking about both sides of it. Like,
Yeah.
is this potentially like if I understand you correctly, you're saying that the objectification of women's bodies has led to some negative things in society. We don't want to repeat that pattern with men. When in our first story today, we talked that assault has no gender.
Right.
So, are we setting ourselves up for? Is this setting us up for a problem?
I feel
You
like,
know?
to Angelica's point, what some people perceived the Me Too movement was, don't objectify women. Okay, well then let's objectify men. When really, like, at the heart of it, it was don't objectify
Of course.
people.
Anybody.
Of
Right.
course.
Right.
Yeah, so it
Absolutely.
wasn't, it like someone took it like, oh, you don't want us to objectify women? Great. We're going to run the opposite direction.
Right.
You know?
I mean,
And-
that's not at the core of what I believe started it.
Yeah.
But there was a witch hunt. And I've seen
Absolutely.
it. And I've seen it with men that I know that have been witch hunted and
Yeah.
scared to death.
Yeah.
And just, there's that other side of the coin, right?
Yeah.
Of the backlash. So I feel like there's something to that. It just came to me because I'm like, that's kind of strangely timed,
Yeah.
And at the same time, loving our bodies, connecting with our bodies, finding a way to have sacred sexual conversations, teaching that messaging. What we just had here earlier as our guest, right? And like all of these things, I think it will lead to that. I think we're an immature society. America, we're a young country, and we're like teenagers, so we're
Right.
just growing up. And we're learning, and we
Totally.
make a lot of this media happen. So I think we're in that era of putting it all out there, and I believe that there's going to be the puritanical side, and then there's going to be the other side that's going to be like, let's go to a higher vibration about this. Let's stop shaming ourselves for sexuality. And there'll be a time when we're going to be like, oh, remember when they used to put dicks on TV? And now we're going to be like, whatever.
Remember when they did it as a
Right.
statement?
It'll be
and it wasn't
completely
just something that
different.
happened?
Maybe it'll go the other route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean there'll be a backlash and so much that people will not show nudity of either? I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Maybe.
No, I
Art-
don't think so. I think
Humans are naked.
I mean,
it's part of storytelling.
old statues.
Well, it wasn't back in the
ancient
day.
statues are covered in.
Well, it just wasn't
Stigma.
depicted back
yeah,
in the day.
Yeah,
That's
or
what I'm
if it
saying.
was,
in
right.
old movies, right?
In old movies, no, because that was a time when
In old movies when
sex is bad.
when a man and woman would sleep in separate twin beds.
I
Yes.
know.
I
I love
love
Lucy.
Lucy.
Did you
Yes.
know the
I
Brady
love
Bunch?
Lucy.
Fun
Yes.
fact: the Brady Bunch was the first televised
Right.
series to show a man and wife in bed
Crazy.
together.
Wow.
All right,
That's
I do
crazy.
have a prediction.
Okay.
I think that it's going to be passe at a certain point.
Oh, absolutely.
That it's going to be very artistic to be like, we're not going to have full frontal. We're going to really do things tastefully. That we went that extreme, and now we're going to go over here and go into deeper things. And it will be at some point we're going to see something really different than what we have right now.
I really hope it
Gosh,
goes
what else
from
is there?
right.
I mean, it feels
I
like
really
Virtual reality, and that's where it's going
Oh.
to go,
Virtual
right?
VR.
oh, the meta.
Yeah, the
man.
meta. We're going to go to the virtual reality.
Zuckerberg is gonna be filling up fake rooms with actors.
Oh,
and-
absolutely.
It'll be fun.
Instead of seeing it, we're gonna feel it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, how do you guys feel about the whole like VR porn thing that's like being discussed right now?
Oh, it's gonna happen.
Virtual reality porn.
Porn.
So you
It's
wear
gonna
one of the
happen.
like an Oculus and you see.
and you like, yeah,
I don't
You're
know.
in
I
the
don't know
room.
about that.
It's like it's
Gosh.
happening.
it's happening.
I
and
feel like we might need to do some
Los
research.
Angeles is doing
Honestly.
has,
Erica needs to come back. For
Yeah.
that one.
Yes, Eric. Make sure we put it in proper context.
yeah,
Right.
There's
Yeah.
I forget what it's called, but it's a convention here in LA for like porn stars and things like that. I think it's like X something convention.
Yeah, like
And-
the Triple X convention
yes,
or something.
Yes, I
like
think
that.
that's what it is, and it's here in LA. And I saw a billboard for it, and I didn't know what it was, so I looked it up. And like one of the main things that they're saying is like we're having VR porn like be one of the like things that they're promoting at this convention.
Like demonstrations
Yeah.
and stuff. Oh, it's
Yeah.
like like CES.
Yes.
But for porn.
But for porn.
But for the adult industry. Oh, I've heard about this. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The adult. Oh, they have awards too. Maybe this is two different things I'm mixing up, but there are adult
Yeah.
video awards
Yeah.
that are
But,
given
like,
out.
the
just
The
like,
VR
adult
thing.
film industry is its own like tiny little Hollywood.
oh, I'm
it
sure.
has everything: conventions, awards, shows.
And I mean, look, here's the reality. This is something we talk about here, right? Keeping things real.
Yeah.
Right.
If you look at the top 10 most visited websites in the world, X videos is on there.
Yeah.
Like or
Right.
Pornhub or
Right.
maybe
Yeah.
both. That
Yeah.
that is not just men.
No.
First of all, and it's not just sexual guys. Like everybody has access to it, and I think that I think coming full circle in the Euphoria story and the whole debate amongst my friends and their kids is that I agree that the violence in the show and the drug use in the show to me is more concerning than
Yeah.
the nudity
Yeah.
Yeah.
or the
Right.
sex
Yeah.
because that's human.
Yeah.
And P.S. Your kids have seen it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It might be shocking for some parents to see it on HBO, but
Wow.
but video screens in your kids' pockets, most of them have access to
right when
adult
I was
videos. So.
when I was younger, I'd go over to a friend's house and they'd have The Sims and we'd play Sims and we'd make them have sex the whole
Oh
time.
yeah.
I'm not joking because it was
Oh,
so
that's-
untalked about. It was so
yeah.
Right.
Like I grew up in a very like my parents weren't like okay, you can watch all whatever you want, but like if I had a question, it was answered. But I was still curious,
Right.
like
We just did it with our Barbies
Right.
and our Kens,
Oh,
and the
we did
Kens
that
would
too.
attack us.
Totally.
you know?
And then we had Sims and we could watch
Yeah.
it, the sheets ruffle and, whatever. Or we'd watch the music videos that have, really hot people doing almost sex with all their clothes
Oh,
on.
please.
And like,
Right.
why does this make me feel like this?
Right.
I'm in,
Yeah.
like,
I'm old enough to remember when you would walk up to the TV and turn it on. I
Yeah,
know.
there was no
And-
clicker.
But there was a clicker. I'm not that old, okay. But
it had four buttons and it went click, click,
no
click.
one knew where it was. And you would turn it to HBO and the lines would be squiggly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And boys, we would just be like looking for a nipple.
Oh,
like,
yes.
looking for something. And
Yeah.
it's like this.
A
The whole
boob.
point is that we're
Yeah.
sexual creatures. People are drawn
Yeah.
to sex. They will be
And it's
forever.
okay.
Yeah.
So we might as well talk about it like we are here.
Totally.
The last one I want to talk about is something we've mentioned is that sometimes full frontal male nudity is used in the context of comedy.
Yeah.
And a lot of it. And
Yeah.
this show, the Righteous Gemstones, also on HBO Max. This is the same. I'm sorry. So you have if you guys aren't watching this show, it is a story of like a fake evangelical family who's like rocking a mega church.
Yeah.
And John Goodman plays the pastor of
Yeah.
this mega church, and
Daddy pastor.
he's a widower, and his 3 kids are one just as more ridiculous than the next.
Adam
And the
Devine.
youngest is Adam Devine.
Love
And
him.
this man, who you can't even see who he is, he's like Adam Devine's houseboy, I guess, houseman. Who they're on the show, their characters are never said to be gay, but there's clearly all this
Yeah.
tension. And
right.
in this
Same
scene,
way it is in church.
this guy has been taken back by the devil worshippers, the satanic group.
Stop.
Because he's at odds with the Adam Devine character, and so he ends up in this scene where this guy's wearing this red plastic suit and just his willy is out. And here's the
Oh
thing.
my
This is the
God.
thing. It's hilarious.
Oh my God.
But you never, even back in the day when you would see a fleeting moment of male full frontal nudity, it would
was
be
very quick.
flaccid, it would be quick, and it was at a distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now this is erect,
Oh my God.
fully visible. I'm sure it's a prosthetic, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I just think that it's I think it's hilarious, if I'm being honest.
No,
I just
yeah.
don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And to me, the more often we see it and the more sort of normalized it becomes, the less of a forbidden fruit it is, the less interesting it is.
Exactly.
And to Angelica's point, we'll see the pendulum come back down because it's not as exciting. Something else will replace
Well,
it.
it'll be the
Right.
VR. I mean, this is where
Maybe,
it's going to
yeah.
head,
Yeah.
you guys. I'm telling you, this is
Yeah.
it, where you're going to have the experience of these things in your own home. There's not going to be other people, and like the connection is going to be lost. So right now, to talk about sacred sexuality, to talk about connection, to talk about finding your centers, so we can model that for young people that are going to grow up. That's going to be the new porn.
Yeah.
It's like Black Mirror, man. There's an
Oh,
episode of
that's
Black
awful.
I mean, I
Mirror
hate
where
to
they
say-
talk about VR porn, and this came out years ago.
And
So
a
this
man-
is like pre.
I
what's
saw
happening
that
now.
episode.
Yeah,
that was
it's intense.
actually, it was very
It could be
intense.
helpful
Yeah.
too if you think about
Yeah.
it. Like imagine a world in where a couple is long distance and they really want to be intimate with each other. They could put on their VR headsets and maybe it's a more realistic experience. Maybe you could even
That
get
would
a
be
sex
fun.
doll that is Wi-Fi operated.
Oh, that's
you
a
both
good
get
episode
one,
of Black Mirror.
and then your
Yeah, I was gonna say.
doll
That's
is,
one of my favorites.
and then
Well, they
you know,
have little mini
they
things
move.
like that, that you can get that
like
are
a
virtual.
little mini doll.
Well,
I don't
no,
know.
like
Who
little
wants to date a little
toys.
doll?
There are toys that are on an app, and
Oh, yeah.
you can use
Yeah.
them long distance.
Yes.
So the person goes on the app and they can control what's happening.
People do it
long-
in grocery stores.
I was
Oh my
gonna
God.
say.
I
Oh,
love
are
this
you
show
kidding
so
me?
much.
They will
I
be
am learning
at
so
the
many
grocery
seen, like,
store.
So,
TikTok.
so
I
what's
have
the
one.
website?
Okay, wait. I have one that plays music. Okay.
Bluetooth. You just like Bluetooth vibrate. Yeah, they'll be walking through the grocery store like with their phone, and then her phone and his phone.
Oh, yeah.
And she'll be like looking for Jello or something,
Oh,
and
my
she'll start
gosh.
to just like like.
So this
Man,
is what's
Yeah,
next.
this is the thing, right?
So interactive.
So it plays
Yep.
music
Porn.
In
down
public.
there. Okay, so you can play all kinds of playlists,
Yeah.
or have someone DJ.
So wait, like
Change
you could,
things.
say you. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, you can be like scratching and like
I guess so, because if you think about it, you call someone. If your
Yeah.
phone's in your pocket and it's
Oh,
set
yeah.
on vibrate mode, you can make them vibrate.
Oh
So
no,
I
this
guess
is
that's
an
kind of what you're
actual
saying.
sex toy.
Well, I understand, but I'm
That's-
just trying to
Right. I
put
mean,
it into context
to
for
understand
myself. 'Cause
science.
my next question is, well, where's the toy? Like, what's
in my bedroom.
Wherever
No, little
I mean,
box
on your
next to my-
body?
Wherever
like, where
Yeah,
you
you
want
can
the toy? Okay, I see. So
any or
I
I'm not gonna say.
you guys are making me blush, which is not
You
easy
can
to
use
do.
it
I think part of it is because
however-
it's kind of
Okay.
intriguing.
You can
I have
use
a
it
few
however you
TikToks
like.
to send you.
Okay.
I was gonna say.
You can use it as a man. You can use it as a woman. You
Yeah.
can use it as a them, as a they, whomever. It's not gender specific. It's for all people. And I'll just let you know what it is. It's called We Vibe.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let me just write that down really fast. What is
Do
it?
we need to put that in the...
I got that in the pandemic, honey.
We vibe.
I love it.
Okay.
That's what we're going to be candid, folks. All the magic happens in the vulnerability, doesn't it? I love it. All right, so let's wrap on full frontal male nudity. Thank you.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
One more thing.
Just one big thing, one long thing, or one thick thing?
I'll let you decide.
Okay.
So
That might be a beep later. No, we're not going to do that. Go ahead.
so you guys remember the show Ratchet that just came out?
Yes,
with
the
Sarah
Nurse
Paulson?
Ratchet.
Yes, Nurse Ratchet. So there's a scene, you don't even see it, but there's a scene where it's not Finn Wolfhard. I keep calling him that. Flynn Whitrock. He is showering. He's like a bad guy. He's in jail. He's showering. He's turned around and he's got his legs spread a little bit and you can see like a little bit kind of, it's implied, but he was talking about that and their makeup artist, Erin Kruger McCash, he goes, we had fittings. We had regular fittings, just like outfit fittings, but for penises. She brought a box of prosthetic penises out of her garage, and it said on the prosthetic penises, and it was all different sizes, all different colors, and he got to pick his penis for that.
Really?
And you see this much of it through his legs in a shadow.
Wow.
It's wild.
But that's the attention.
detail.
That's Hollywood. That's attention
Yeah.
to detail.
Yeah.
That's, they apply
That's
that kind of that attention to detail across all the avenues of
That's
Yeah.
another
art.
segment. Pick
It is.
your penis.
Oh, what I want to know is how did this woman just? I guess it came up enough that she had a box of dicks in her garage.
She is Ryan Murphy's regular makeup artist. So anytime you've
okay.
seen it in like American Horror Story, anything,
God
she's-
bless Ryan Murphy. He has brought so much amazing
I love him
entertainment
so
to
much.
the world.
Truly.
One day, Brian, you'll be here putting it out to the stars. All
Oh, the
right,
dream.
all
Let's
my
go.
favorite
The
folks.
dream.
All right, let's take another quick mindful moment so that we can regather and calm ourselves down and bring our heart rates down and get some powder. This one is going to be a joke. Perfect. And we're back. And that mindful moment was a joke. I want to read it actually for those. Oh, actually, let me just say this one more time. It was a joke from the American comedian Jay McBride. And she says, "My brother disowned me when he found out I was trans, but I tried to take the high road. When I heard that he and his wife had a child, I sent them a nicest greeting card. It said, 'Congratulations, it's a boy.' For now." But we love good humor. So,
For now.
That is shady.
Yes. So we went out on Full Frontal Nudity. We're coming back on the first ever GGT Golden Hero Award. Woohoo! The Golden Hero Award. We invented it because that's what we can do here. It's our show. And this story comes from the Rainbow Press Yellow Band, which is sunshine, which is solution, charity, energy. You know, I thought solution because the sun itself provides enough energy to the planet to give us all of our energy that we need once we can just figure all that out and get off of fossil fuels. But this charity award goes to the incredible Mackenzie Scott. Mackenzie Scott donated $133.5 million to Community in Schools, CIS, a really special program that puts all across the nation disenfranchised schools that need help, that whether the kids need help in the classroom or at home. It's a beautiful organization, and I just want to tell, yay! So let's go ahead and give her the award. Yay! Boosh! The GGT golden. What do we call it?
Golden Hero.
The Golden Hero Award. She is a hero. For those who don't know, Mackenzie Scott was once married to billionaire Jeff Bezos, the wealthiest, if not, I think he's the wealthiest man in the world.
Yeah.
Didn't their divorce make her the second wealthiest person in the world, or the wealthiest woman in the world? I don't know what all those numbers are, but God bless her, man. She's throwing her money where her mouth is, giving it to good causes. I read that this was just the latest of these like $100 million gifts that she's giving out, that she's been giving out. A lot of money, and it just warms my soul. So, gosh, good for her. Did either one of you grow up in schools, or you that had like a person in the classroom that really wasn't the teacher, but there to make a difference?
We had paraprofessionals, we called them, and they were usually with the kids, like special needs kids.
Yeah, I see. They need a little extra attention.
Yeah, but they would occasionally, like, if the teacher couldn't pay attention and they were sitting next to you, like, "Are you okay? Do you need?"
Yeah.
"No, I don't know how to do this." You know.
Sometimes it just takes one person to think, to ask you how you're doing, to change your whole day. I'm really passionate about education. I think, if you all don't know, I was a school teacher once. I did it in between. I grew up with a father that was a school teacher. So for 30 years, I grew up like going to his third grade classroom and being able to see that. And so when I was first here going in, trying to break into the news media industry, I got a job as a substitute, which was, took the CBEST and got my emergency credential. And before you knew it, I was working for that school full time. And let me tell you, these little kids, they were impressive. The range that they bring to the classroom is impressive. I had some really, really wonderful kids. But the days that I would get an aid, it meant all the difference in the world. Yeah. It completely changes your structure as a teacher when you can, like, God bless them, there's always the challenged kids that are like really sucking up. They're doing the minority of the work, but they're getting the majority of your attention. Yeah. And those makes a big difference. So CIS, congratulations. You also get the award. Mackenzie Scott. Bravo. Woo! Next story.
And also, can I just say, teachers are going through it right now.
Oh my God.
I mean, with
teachers.
Real teachers, or the parents around the country that just around the globe that just suddenly became teachers? We're like, I'm a stay-at-home teacher.
Everyone. I mean, how 3 years?
2 years.
2 years?
Oh, it's so depressing when I think about it.
And like one of my best friends, shout out to Kaylee, because she became a teacher in the pandemic. Like a lot of, and her first year of teaching was online. And
Kaylee, this is for you.
Yes, because
good job, Kaylee, and all the teachers like you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
hard.
It's such a reflection of the misplaced standards and priority in our society. I mean, how much money we put into so many things, and then this thing that shapes our entire future, the most important thing is that the young Americans of today get educated in a way that are going to be the great Americans of tomorrow. And yet teachers are using their own money to buy markers. Just baloney.
And
basic supplies.
They're expected to go and work no matter what with everything with COVID. No matter what kids are showing up positive with COVID, they still got to stay and work. It's like they're getting like looked over.
Yeah.
Like no one's thinking about the safety of the teachers right now, and that matters.
It is. And, you know, I know in LA USD, the second largest school district in the country, there was quite a bit of pushback from the teachers. And they ended up keeping LA, like in California, and I think behind where a lot of other schools were going back. Now I'm not really sure exactly. Probably it's just when there's a surge or a big outbreak, they have to go homeschooled, right? Or
I know some Oregon schools that have not gone. They've stayed in person throughout like the Omicron surge and everything. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think that, I mean, the latest polls say that 70% of Americans want to start treating this virus like the flu. So that is, and what can you expect? I mean, it's been
just
years.
Get vaccinated.
And get vaccinated, and then do all the things that you know to do, socially distance, wash your hands, put your mask on when you feel that you're going to be in a compromised environment. Otherwise, live your life. All right.
Yeah.
So we need to go into this is a really fun segment. I'm really excited.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. It's
We're gonna
space
get really
and NASA.
cosmic.
It's really exciting.
Angelica, and we have another visitor. Someone else has shown up to the studio, but we might get to see who it is. We might not. But in the meantime,
see.
Angelica Perman,
Yes.
sexy psychic to the stars. Why don't you tell us about Mercury retrograde?
Okay, so Mercury is the planet of communication, all things communication. It rules technology, travel, mail, and how we share and communicate to other people, right? So that can include telepathy, intuition, and spoken, unspoken communication. It's not just verbal communication. So this year we have a retrograde cycle that will hit us 4 different times with Mercury. It's normally 3 times.
Oh boy.
Wow.
So we went.
That tracks.
I need to take
right?
notes.
Right? This period in time.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about what a retrograde really is. So I don't have the whole scientific perspective, but from what I understand is 4 times a year, or 3 to 4 times a year, it goes backwards, and it retrogrades, meaning that all the communication kind of goes into a reverse mode. And so they recommend during these times to not travel, right? Like, of course, we're going to have to travel, to not sign contracts, to watch buying a new car, buying technology. You know, these kinds of things can be problematic. Now this is from a cosmic perspective, and then we also have to look at our charts, right? Where Mercury is in your chart. So I'm a Gemini. I'm ruled by the planet Mercury. It's in my chart in Cancer, which rules for me being psychic and delivering messages to other people.
So that means this is going to come into a strong period for you?
Right. So what happened for
psychic.
me in the retrograde...
Going to talk to you about the lottery.
Right. All the communication was more challenged, but my intuition and meditation went to another level. So the verbal communication was really difficult. Now, before Mercury goes into retrograde, we have what's called a shadow cycle. So it starts to shadow. So for me, I feel it right away. When I was young, all things would get weird with me. There would be all these weird blowouts with people. I would lose things. I would notice, and I would go, what is this? And I asked people, and not till I was a young adult that they told me what this was. I would feel it a lot as a kid, and it would wreak havoc on my life. So I feel it first, kind of. And then once the cycle starts, it's a great time to complete things. So it started... I don't actually have the date of the start date of it.
I have it
Can
here.
you look at what the start date was?
Suffering from a bad case of saying the wrong thing at the worst time. There's an explanation in the stars. It's called Mercury retrograde. And this cosmic event is coming for us 4 times in 2022. The first begins in Aquarius on Friday, January 14th.
Okay, so it started on the 14th of January. And on December 19th, Venus went retrograde. And then that just went direct on the 29th of January. So we have these 2 planets. One is with love and communication going in retrograde. So there was a lot of breakups, a lot of deep issues coming up with communication and love and relationships. Wow. So now that we've gone past, and finally Venus went to direct, and now Mercury goes direct, what we're going to find is whatever came up for us in the last 3 weeks for me, it was all about completion, a lot of completion. Projects that were not moving forward for months and months and months, years even. Finally, boom. As soon as it went direct yesterday, all these things happened. Oh, there's peaceful water. I love that.
That's just every now and then we hit
peaceful water.
that beautiful waterfall is meant to soothe.
Yes, it was a waterfall
Definitely
of completion.
not
happening.
anybody flushing a toilet somewhere.
Yeah, I
That's
was wondering if
definitely
that's
not
what
what
it
it is. I mean, how? Go ahead.
Why would it be that?
So yeah,
It was kind of peaceful.
It was.
You know what we should do? We'll add a waterfall sound here, and if it
Yeah.
accidentally happens again, I'll just hit the waterfall sound and take a moment.
Right.
Yes. So for myself, I had that completion and projects finally moving forward. And we had an amazing talk today about creating new things. And the show launched on the 2nd. So wherever it hit you in your communication, this is where you can go a little deeper, because now it's in Capricorn. It's direct, meaning that the cycle is over. Whatever you learned, whatever you went through, now we're moving forward. Now it's a time to move forward in the communication, have the conversations that maybe you weren't able to have. And you might find that things start to solidify in relationships, because now we're moving into an energy where love and the communication are going to be heightened and to go to another level. So perhaps if you did go through a breakup, or you had something happen in your personal life, now's the time to heal that and then have a transformation, right? And maybe you're waiting for a deal to go through and it wasn't happening. Now it'll start to move forward. And it might take about 12 days to 2 weeks, because there is that shadow period. So any questions?
Are you kidding? I'm filled with it, but I don't want to talk.
I just wanted to explain it the best I could.
Go ahead.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
You.
Well, I'm just,
Mariah.
I know you mentioned like depending on like your sign and looking at your chart too.
Yes.
So you're saying there's 3 to 4.
This year there's 4 retrogrades.
4 retrogrades. And do each of those separate retrogrades affect each separate sign differently? Like,
oh, that's a great question.
Or are they all?
It depends on what they're in, right? So it was just in Aquarius, but
Okay.
Mercury is always going to be in your chart where it's placed. It's just going to be something that it's always going to be in the same place in your birth chart, right? And that's going to show you what you are. Like mine's in Cancer, and it's in 11th house.
What does that mean? Like,
Okay, so the
novice.
astrology is done where there's houses, and each house rules a different thing.
Got it.
And so depending on where Mercury is in the sky when you were born.
Oh, it's in
is
a
the house.
literal, like a constellation.
Right. So the first house will be, who you are, right? And it goes through the different things in your life. It goes into money, it goes into career, it goes into relationship, it goes into children, housing, all these things. So wherever that house is, wherever Mercury is, it will impact you.
Mm-hmm.
So mine is, it hits me in using my spiritual healing and communication to uplift other people and be psychic. Right? But it also had self-doubt in there. I doubt. So I'm very concerned, like when I was talking with you, if something's going to land in a certain way, and I can doubt that might hurt the other person's feelings. That's been the rub. I'm here to communicate this truth. We got to have insecurity. Did I do it right? Did I say it? Did I hurt somebody's feelings? So wherever your Mercury is, so if you look it up in your chart.
I just looked mine up.
Okay, what house is yours, and what is your?
Okay, it's in the 7th house.
What's your sign?
I'm a Pisces sun. I'm a Gemini moon and a Virgo rising.
Wow.
But my Mercury is in Pisces in the 7th house.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So that's really interesting, because that's marriage and relationships, right? So that's that. And Pisces is a water sign, and it's a fish, and it's also very psychic and very in tune, and very sensitive. Very sensitive in your communication, very connected to the communication, feeling it. That's where your empath energy is. Right there in relationship, and right there in that water sign of being intuitive, being sensitive. So communication for you is going to be very charged.
Especially communication in relationships.
Yes. Yes. And it's the relationship you have with yourself, right? Oh, they're giggling back there because there's a little thing.
Because I just feel like
there.
someone could slide into engineering and give us a little peek. But it's up to you guys. Our engineer has a visitor, but he's staying low pro, which we respect. We respect here. We don't, plus he hasn't signed any releases yet.
So let me ask you a question, Mariah.
Okay.
Have you, during this last 3 weeks, did you go through anything around communication in your relationship?
Yeah.
And there's a giggle, and we can leave it at that.
Yes. Yes.
All right, cool.
Of all the times that asked that question, no kidding.
Yeah,
right.
communication bumps, but I feel like also resolutions.
Great.
That makes sense because you said Mercury retrograde's over.
Recent resolutions.
Yeah.
Right, because Venus went direct. So that helped the communication. That helped you go to another level, right? And it starts with us, right? Our own communication, listening to ourselves, listening to our inner voice, and learning the kind of communication that's intentional. And a lot of times people are very hot-headed. They say the wrong thing, and things blow up, versus, okay, so in retrograde cycle, you want to really be intentional. What do you want to communicate? And sometimes it's a lot of silence. I did a lot of silence. I would just sit back and be like, oh, I have nothing to say to that. And I have a lot to say.
Right.
And that really helped me, actually, when I would want to say things. And I was supercharged, and it would cause an issue.
Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Why do people keep telling me that?
DeMarcus says that Mercury retrograde always seems to work in my favor. LOL.
Oh, does he? Well, lucky DeMarcus.
Hey, DeMarcus.
He's having
I would like to know where your Mercury. Look up your chart and let me know where your Mercury is in your chart.
Tell us where. What's the question? I'll ask the dynamos.
Where is your what planet and what house? If you can look it up.
So wait, how do you determine that? Because
an app, but you really want to put in your birth date,
your
time, location,
right? where you were born, and the time you were born. Okay, right? So with those three pieces of information, and I asked my mom this morning what time I was born. Okay. I don't know. You should have seen her. I'm like, almost 21 years ago, you had this massive experience. Almost. barely 22 years ago. 45 years ago. By the way, I'm born December 7th, which is Pearl Harbor Day. So like 35 years later, another bomb dropped.
Wow.
Also very destructive.
Wow.
All respect to World War II folks. So
I think know where
she
born,
said
what time?
Afternoon. So can we just guess?
No.
Well,
not for all. You really wanted to look at your chart, and there's certain things you can find out without
there's
a time.
A public record request coming up here for my birth certificate.
Get your birth certificate so we can look it up.
Does anybody know when they were born? What time?
Do you know?
Like 6:30 in the morning, something like
that.
Yeah,
so what you would want to do is get an app, look it up.
Yeah.
Because, I don't have the app open right now, otherwise I could do it.
Yeah.
But look up where your Mercury is and what planet and what sign and what house, right?
Yeah.
So for everyone else, because communication is so important in our modern day, like the fact that we launched this show right before it went direct was fantastic. That we're communicating. But
we could have been screwed with technology.
We could
now
have been.
I'm hearing you because
right.
And there's a lot of technology all around us.
Yeah,
it could have gone
absolutely
real bad.
Real bad. For sure. And the other thing is, though, we created this before the retrograde. So we were completing this. Even the launch, we were completing it. We already started it. So it's not the best time to start something new and sign a contract. But sometimes that happens in life, right? So Yogananda, who's a spiritual teacher from India and who brought yoga to the West, that was his thing. He would talk about in the Vedic tradition in India, they read everything. If you're going to get married to this person, what they're like, everything is they ask the astrologer for all the things. And he would get his report of when was the best time to launch something. Do business, and he would do the polar opposite every single time, and he would fight the energy so that he could transcend it. Because I don't want people to be paranoid and like use it as a thing, right? It's like anything that comes up in our life, we can use it as a tool. That's why I use it for completion. You have a question?
No,
I appreciate that, and I think that your gift, part of it seems to be very like tied energy wise and strength wise to the stars, or so you're feeling you're coming into you feel more psychic ability now than ever or usual.
It's really interesting because there was a moment where it felt like a pause and I was like, this is weird, what is happening? It's more integrated. It's just integrated, and I feel like the business side of myself and the creative side of myself is getting a lot of energy. So then the psychic is like, we're good, girl. I'm just going to be there for you. But I use it to tune in every day, throughout the day, what is needed here. So, we call our friends, what should I do? Or we go and try to figure out an answer for something. I literally meditate throughout the day and I ask what is needed. And sometimes it is a really tough decision that I have no answer. I have nothing. And I wait till I hear it, I feel it, and I get the answer. And a lot of times it's what we might feel is counterintuitive. It's the opposite of what we would ever do before.
Really? Oh.
To say this thing that we would never say, to do an action that we would never normally do. But in your gut, it takes bravery. I'm going to do it. I know that's the right decision. And then it is. Right? So this is part of the lesson. There's not one way, but using our inner compass to discover what our truth is and then how to connect with others better and make better choices. And it can get very confusing with technology and everything going awry and emails getting lost and phone calls getting dropped, right?
Mm-hmm. It's Mercury retrograde. I know what to blame it on now.
Absolutely. There's a spray that they had. A friend of mine gave it to me one time. He thought it was so funny. He gave me this Mercury retrograde spray, and you're just like, shh.
What is I'm just curious, as a psychic, what is the number one question you get?
What are the lottery numbers?
I knew it. I knew it.
Or
so I'm just like everyone else.
Or finally, I'm normal. Or what's in my pocket?
What's in my pocket?
What's in my
numbers am I holding
pocket?
up?
Oh, they do that to try to test your skills?
Yeah, but it's like it can be taken many ways.
Oh. Gosh. Okay.
I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
Is that a question in your pocket, or are you just glad to see me? You knew your exact everything. So
She
are
was
you
ready.
into this? You and I haven't really talked a lot about this.
Yeah,
I love it.
I was super into CoStar. I don't know, Angelica, if you've heard of that.
No, what is
but
that?
I do follow some people that are into astrology, and they said not to go off that app. So now I'm like trying to get off of it, but all my stuff is on there. But yeah, I mean, I look at it all the time.
Oh, there is one that I want to recommend. It's
Okay,
called the
I'm writing
pattern.
it down.
The pattern.
Oh, I have heard of that.
Dude. So you put everything in there, and then it comes up with your astrology, but it'll show you your patterns, and it'll show you in the astrological aspects. You'll be hanging out with someone having things going on, and it'll go, you are dealing with this issue. You've had this issue your whole life. It's really up for you, girl. There's just nothing you can do but get past this. And you're looking at it, you're like, what the? I'm really going through this right now. It says it on the pattern app. And then it'll be like, oh my shit, it's going to last 2 more years?
Oh,
but
God.
it'll be like, it'll tell you like when it's up for you. And that is a tool so you can actually transcend that, right?
Yeah.
And then you can also put your friends on there or lovers, your romantic partner. You can put them and you can see what your patterns are. Wow, it's pretty accurate and amazing to look at that.
Downloading it.
We had a really great author of a book called Friendship Signs. Her name is not coming to me right
That's
now.
cute.
But on our other show, Friends Some and Then Some.
Brianne Hogan?
Yeah, Brianne Hogan. Thank you. You get today's award for the help. Yeah, she was great. And she wrote this book, Friendship Signs. And you go through it and you can really see how you're supposed to get along with people with other signs. And I mean, I've always believed that it's there's a lot of energy in the world. I mean, the moon controls women's reproductive systems, right?
The moon controls the tides.
Isn't that a thing? The
Yeah.
tides, the moon controls
Yes.
the tides, and the tides are synced up with women's menstruation, right?
And we used to be on a
Is that not a thing?
13. Yes. We used to be on a 13.
I'll look it up. I'll get back to you. I shouldn't be talking about things I don't know about, but I think there's some power there. Oh,
There
good.
is,
Tell us.
actually.
Tell us.
From my experience,
Mhm.
there was 13 months in the year. We had a different calendar, and it was based on the moons. So there were 13 moon cycles, right? And when women, sometimes they do sync up to the moon, and their cycle becomes on the full moon. I had that happen, and I was doing new moon and full moon sweat lodges with Native Americans, and it was really strong. My cycle was very synced to the moon, and by having 13 moon cycles, then you're connected more with nature, right? And it does roll the tides. So people do feel super anxious sometimes, excited, overwhelmed. They go crazy. Like the whole werewolf mythos is because people feel so, the tides can affect people's emotions, right?
Yes.
And so the astrology that we have now is, the Western is based on 12. It's based on 12 months, the Gregorian calendar. And when it went to the 12, the Gregorian calendar, it kind of changed the natural rhythm of us connecting with the moon and the sun in that way. So we kind of got out of sync of that. But the Vedic astrology accounts for the Earth's wobble. What that means is that it's way more specific. It's not based on the 12 months. So it actually is more predictive. And I think it's good to use as a tool of a blueprint of a learning rather than you're obsessing over it. You know,
Right.
we're playing about the Mercury retrograde and talking about it, but it is a powerful thing as well. And I find that, like, by using any tool, not as your God, right, but as a guide. You know, not
As
putting something above you,
like one color
and
on their palette.
worshiping it, but using it
Yeah.
as a guide if it works for you. And I find it's really, when I tune into it, it helps.
I mean, it's just all spiritual things to me, all things that are beyond my understanding, energy-based, religion, all of these things, they kind of go in the same category of, there's a lot of people who feel it and believe it, and who am I to say what is right for anybody? But my journey with these things is more like a discovery journey. Like, I'm open-minded, and I'm trying to learn and take it in and not judge, but be curious, you know?
Well, you can look
But
at
I don't
your
know a
own
lot
life.
about it. That's the truth. That's why I like having you here.
You can look at the dates and look at what happened in your life, and does it match up with what it's saying?
Right.
And did I have an alignment that, wow, I know I did. It was very specific. Specific dates, everything shifted. And I was aware of that. And I was like, wow. Right? And then the day after it went retrograde, things started to pop. And I could feel it. It's like, I knew, oh God, if I could just get to February 4th, 2022, I'll be okay.
And here we are.
Wow.
Oh my God.
I love it.
Yes, with all of you. So with that, I feel complete about it.
Good.
And, you know, hopefully you learned a little thing or two. And for the next couple weeks, see what you need to do to focus on better communication and building the Capricorn goes up the mountain, taking your energy and focusing it on what you want to manifest with your work, with your communication, with love, with these aspects, with health, rather than I'm going to make sudden change. And it's a little bit more of a building energy right now.
Sounds like there's some reset in there. And like, maybe it's a good time to let people know about this wonderful sponsor we've got.
Ooh.
How'd you like that?
I think I know
That
where
was
this
subtle,
is
huh?
going.
If you would like to be a sponsor of our show, please contact us. We would love it. But in the meantime, here's from our current sponsor, Reseticate. It's no secret, it's been a rough few years. Relationships have been challenged. Crime is on the rise. Shocking things have made their way into your mouth. Let's face it, there are days when you don't even recognize yourself. You need a fresh start. You need Reseticate. Reseticate, from the makers of Complainomo and Eat a Dick, utilizes a proprietary formula of ancient, mostly forgotten ingredients including fitness, rest, balance, breath, therapy, moderation, and self-esteem. Reseticate is not a drug or a supplement. It's not available in stores and your doctor won't know about it. Side effects include fearless, bold decision-making, a tighter ass, and death of shame, guilt, and self-doubt. Reseticate. You don't need a new you in 2022. You're beautiful. You love yourself. You need 2.0 you in 2022. And you can have it with Reseticate. What a great sponsor. Who doesn't need to reset every now and then? And hopefully, if you were to get that product, it would help you. But we don't have it actually out yet, but it'll be here soon. So I want to wrap up today because we only have about a few minutes left, and we like to end the show with something meaningful. And so every time anybody comes to Mod Pod Studio or visits us here at Gals, Gays, and Theys, we ask them to put some intention in the intention bowl, and then eventually we'll get to it. And right now we're going to get to a few. So Rachel, you want to grab one and read it, and we'll chat about it.
Grab this one off the top. To create a safe space for the LGBTQ plus Middle Eastern community.
Rock and roll. I like that.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's actually, you know what I love about that personally, is that I have learned along life that if you are specific with your intentions, that it is helpful. That if you know, you can say broad things and that's great, but this is very specific. And
yes.
I mean, we'll just guess who put that in there. Yeah, I love that smile, Mariah.
The gay Middle Eastern in the room.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite moments a few years ago. I mean, it was so laughable. It was like the president, I think Ahmadinejad or whatever. There was the former president of Iraq or Iran. Sorry if I'm disappointing people with my world politics, but
Not
this
Iran.
the president for the Middle East went out and basically said, we don't have
We don't
homosexuals.
have gay people here.
We don't have homosexuals in our country.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You do. You have
It's
a lot
scary.
of them. I know.
I mean, it's really scary for Middle Easterns. Like Middle Eastern Americans, it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
But being in the Middle East,
right.
it's
deadly.
Yeah, it is.
Potentially.
It's deadly. It is straight up deadly.
And we should we'll put some of this together for some of our mindful moments in the future to really show people where in the world people that are marginalized are being persecuted, whether they're women or gays and lesbians or any marginalized group. I mean, if you think about it, there's laws in countries right now. I mean, Russia would be a good example where there's a massive, I think it's an anti-propaganda law, they call it. And if you have a gay flag, like presented outside your house or something, you could be arrested because if kids walk by, you were trying to confirm, I don't know what you're trying to do, I guess. Too many rainbows in the world.
Oh, yeah.
But
Wow.
it's pretty,
Rainbows.
there's a lot of places out there that it is not anywhere close to where it's, I hope, going and where it needs to be. We're not even where we're going.
No.
Yet
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I like that though. We're not even where we're going.
No.
Yeah.
Are we ever? I mean, that's what so much of life is about, is learning how to stay present and enjoy this part of the journey, because who knows where we're going? The future is uncertain.
Yeah.
And yet this is where we are right now. So love it as much as you can and love yourself in this moment, because you're here.
This next one is, I want to be more curious and less judgmental.
Oh.
That is I'm glad. I don't know if I put that in or if someone heard me say it, but I do say that all the time.
Ready?
What does that mean to you? Out of
I
curiosity.
love that. I mean, being curious, open-minded, being just open and not judgmental is just allowing things to be, you know, and those two things together, curiosity breeds non-judgmental, you know, like, wow, well, what do you mean by that? Like, that's a question I like to use when I feel like I might go into judgment. What do you mean by that?
Yeah.
What
To
is
me,
that
it's like,
for? What is that for you? And inquire something instead of answer something right away.
Right.
Because it's easy to be like defensive.
Yeah. It's like I feel like the judgment comes from your experience is different than mine.
Right.
And from my experience, you are not meeting my standard. So the curiosity is creating
an opening.
And it's even if it's just the one question of what do you mean by that, or what is, like, where are you coming from?
I like that question too. Where are you coming from?
It just opens the door just ever so slightly to where you can see a little bit of the light of, okay, your experience has led you to this conclusion. Mine has led me to this. Neither of us are necessarily wrong, depending on the topic. But, you know, like, asking the question opens your eyes.
Right.
Yeah.
There's
Ask
something,
questions.
that's the bottom line, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like, if you, we have schemas, right? Psychologists will tell you that it's a really important part of the human experience for us to develop patterns of doing things. Cause like, you know, you shouldn't have to concentrate on tying your shoes every single time. Right. So, but sometimes the schemas are narratives that are not true.
Yeah.
Right.
My therapist and I were just talking about this actually. And you'll tell yourself this story that just, you know, it really is not the case at all. And yet you'll apply it to judgment of others.
Yeah.
So this false story now, like, here's an example. Did you hear so-and-so's daughter is stripping? You know, she's doing exotic dancing.
Yeah.
And if you're coming from a certain place, your instinct might be, she's doing what?
Yeah.
But if you can change that, she's doing what, to, wait, she's doing what?
Right.
Like, be curious. Like, what's going on there? What is happening? Because the second that tone is judgmental, it's a conversation stopper.
And it's like that quick judgment too.
Exactly.
It's like a reaction
Yeah.
that people are so used to having.
You're not like, your daughter's on the pole? Damn.
Right.
But why? I mean, and
right,
also
versus, well, how do you feel about that?
Right.
Like, this is what I do when someone offers something like that and they're telling me, well, what does that mean to you? How does that feel for you?
Yeah. Right.
And if they go, you're wrong in a conversation, like, sometimes people will be like, you're wrong, Angelica. And I'm like, really? Well, okay. What do you think I'm wrong about? I'm really not very defensive by that. I'm like, wow, they're really trying to prove a point. I'm like, okay, let me look at another lens. Why are they having to tell me I'm wrong, number one?
Right.
Versus, like, share what they really want to say.
Like,
and that's where I'm curious.
It's like you get cut off on the freeway.
Yeah.
And your instinct can be, anger and judgment. You're a terrible driver. You
Yeah.
cut me off. When you don't know, maybe be curious. They could have really bad diarrhea, or there could be a bee in the car, or a pregnant lady,
True.
and they're just trying to save a life. we don't know, but
they're just trying to save a life. They're not texting.
they probably aren't.
They've got a bee in the car and a pregnant woman, and they're trying to save a life.
Now,
But I do like that what you're saying. Like what's happening there. And when we're little, before we learn how to judge, we're like, Mommy, why does that man have a weird lip?
Yes.
And we go, and they go, shh, he's got a problem. And don't ask that question. And you're like, oh, I did something wrong.
Yeah.
I was just wondering why he was walking funny.
Yeah. I was listening to Armchair Expert. Mariah and I were talking about it the other day.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Dax Shepard.
Oh my God.
I love them.
Love that show. But he was talking to Stanley Tucci about his new book. And Stanley Tucci lives in London with his family. Oh my God. Love him.
King.
I have a game I have to tell you about, Mariah.
I'm excited.
But he's talking about his son, who's 5 years old. I think his name is like Marcus, something like that. Starts with an M. Mateo. Thank you. Mateo. What am I thinking? Mateo.
You're so going to be my lifeline if I'm ever on a million, like Who Wants to Make a Million or whatever that show is. It always comes to you.
I have the weirdest little knowledge. Okay. Anyways, back to the stay on one thing, Rach. But he says they're out walking. They'll go out walking in their neighborhood, and there is a woman. And so Mateo is 5, so he's a smaller child, and there's a woman who's very small in their neighborhood, and they'll go walking, and Mateo, Daddy, why is that woman so small? And he's genuinely asking, like, well, okay, my dad is this tall, my mom is this tall. Yeah. She is much smaller, but is the same age as my So you kind of have to, and they talk about it on the show, and he says, like, my immediate answer is like, stop it, no, like, you don't know what her, like, is she insecure about being so small? Is she whatever? And he's like, why can't I ask that question? Like, I'm small, but I'm a child. That person is small, and they're an adult. Of course, this is a 5-year-old, so they're not articulating that. But like, the curiosity as a child is squished, because as the parent, again, I don't have children, so don't come for me for this. But like, as the parent, your first instinct is don't talk about that. You don't, like, there's something wrong with them. Don't talk about it.
Right. Versus education, right?
Versus, I don't know why that person
is so small. Or maybe you can
small.
ask them.
You can turn that into I don't know why that person is so small. But, there are people bigger than Daddy. There are people smaller than you. There are, like, instead of turning it into a whole, what can we learn from this? What can we talk about from this? So
it's so helpful to reframe things.
Yeah.
Like, to be able to, just the way that we think about things.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that judgment is important.
Yes.
Life needs to be filled with good judgment.
Yes.
You want to teach your children that if some guy drives over in a windowless white van with a pocket full of candy, teach your kids how to have good judgment.
Right.
And be very skeptical and doubtful in that moment. And, we did not send him to pick you up.
Totally.
That is a good judgment. Or if you're someone's babysitting your children, you want to bring them in, interview them, and have some good judgment about them.
Totally.
But to be judgmental in the sense that you're knee-jerk. I'm really talking to myself. Like, when this whole being, I'm the first to say it. Like, I was raised feeling very judged, and then that I became a very judgmental person.
Right.
And I didn't like it about myself. I don't like it about myself when it still pops up on autopilot sometimes.
Yeah.
But when I'm at my best, I'm very conscious about what I'm thinking about and what I'm saying. And something that's really helped me is just to stop judging people so much.
Yeah.
Like, to just, what is your story? It's so easy when we throw around words like addiction, or whether it's sex addiction or drug addiction. And like, that's a big one for me, because it's like, is that judgment worthy, or is that a disease? Would I judge someone who has diabetes and needs insulin, and this person is, an alcoholic, which is a disease, and they need abstinence from alcohol or some other whatever?
Yeah.
Like, to me, it just feels like, no one's perfect. No one's walked a mile in anybody else's shoes. Not really. But if you stop, ask a bunch of questions, and that's, then at least then you can get to some judgment, right? Then you can say, okay, now that I know more, that's really like, do not drive around in windowless white vans, sir.
Right.
You need to, because there is plenty of below the line activity that needs to be, called out. But not when it comes to people's soul, I don't think. Not when it comes to who you are, or especially if what you're doing to create no victim.
Right.
Other than a society telling you that.
Yeah. That saying that's like, if you if a person can't change it in 5 minutes, you shouldn't bring it up. Like their weight, or their acne, or their, like, if you can't go home and change it in 5 minutes, you shouldn't bring it up. I think that's a great rule of thumb, but it also, in a similar vein, shuts down the conversation of, in an internal conversation,
Right.
of, well, why when I looked at that person did I automatically see their weight?
Right.
Why when I looked at the person did I automatically see all the bumps on their face? Why? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so it, you know, the changing outwardly the judgment, but also, or excuse me, the curiosity, and changing it inwardly, and not just, you know, well, I don't have to change, but I have to change my children.
Right.
And if you think about it, if you've been judged a lot and now you're a judgmental person, you're not at your best.
Right.
You know, and certainly you feel like, I feel like when I was at my worst, judging, being too judgmental, I didn't love myself.
Yeah.
And the more you love yourself genuinely and you're just cool, the judgment kind of leaves. Like it's a lot of it comes from internalized hurt and unexpressed trauma and not really dealing with your own problems. And then it's so easy to focus on everybody else's, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh.
And the judgment is a form of protection.
Yeah.
And it's a way of protecting ourselves.
Especially if we're talking about other people's problems,
Oh,
we don't talk about our own.
Right.
Let's talk about them.
Yeah.
And putting that energy out there so that you don't have to deal with your own stuff.
Yeah.
And curiosity is an open, amazing thing to pull in and manifest things, right? Like when we're like, I don't know if I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Versus I have a dream and I don't know how.
Right.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to find out how I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it's so easy. Like having this manifest. It's so easy to think of all the things of why it's not going to work. And one of the things I really want to reflect about you, JD, is that you feel like a yes and person. And when it's a no, it's like no for now, or this is the reason. I can't really show up for that. But mostly you're yes and there was a curiosity. Our first connection, our first talk, you were very curious about what I was up to and what I wanted to share with you and all the things. And I was curious about you and finding out your story and learning about the other person. That is actually the way to deal with all of this hate.
Right.
Because sometimes people that are in those environments where it's super violent, there's something called nonviolent communication.
Yeah.
Learning how to ask questions. What's your need? I feel like you have a need here. You have a need to be heard. And that's why you're attacking me. Not that you would necessarily say it that way, but, you know, when you find out, why is this person reacting?
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Crazy.
I mean, it does. And, you know, with just our last couple of minutes here, looking at Angelica and knowing that on Tuesday's show, we've got the Angelica Perman show premiering. Taps. Oh, my gosh. Yay, it's coming. You know what? I
need some other sound effects.
Soon enough, you will be on Tuesday. You're going to show us you'll be here in the hot seat, and we'll start off, of course, with the Rainbow Press as we always do, and then have a visit. We have a few segments on that day, and then at 4:00 on Tuesday, you're going to bring us into your world a little bit. What do people have to look forward to?
Well, I'm going to be offering live readings, and we're going to figure out how to do call-ins. Right?
Oh,
We'd
yeah.
like to do Zoom or call in.
Well, you obviously know the phone works if you've been watching for a while.
Figure that out. We're gonna do some live readings.
We can do Zooms.
I think that would be really cool. And Q&A, I really like people to ask spiritual questions, like what you're going through, how to work through it. Me doing some meditations. Throughout the journey, I'll be sharing music. I'm a musician. I do sound healing. I'm going to be having upcoming musical releases, and my name for that is the Sound Empress. So we were talking about that today. We're going to offer that. I'm going to have some guests, and I really want to read guests as well and offer healing support. Yes.
Are you going to show some of our hard work?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Okay, good.
Oh, yes, I will.
Wait, what did you ask?
Sure.
I asked if she's going to show some of our hard work, our music videos.
Oh, good.
Well, her music videos
that's
that I
right.
did
She
her
did
for.
the makeup and the hair.
People are getting the full circle. See,
It
that's
was
how we are. Our family has
fantastic.
grown in
This
very
is how we
organic
got
ways.
here.
Exactly.
Yes, yes.
So I can't wait to watch those.
I know.
I love it.
I
I love
think-
it.
She
Okay.
showed me a teaser the other day. I'm sorry, I'm gonna just tap myself
Oh.
on the back. Or on the back. It's incredible.
I heard you kind of swooped in and saved the day to
Oh,
a
yeah,
degree.
because there was some other people that, you know.
Yeah.
I love that. Rachel, I just admire your confidence so much. You're so good at what you do, and it's it's a joy to watch, truly. I mean that about everybody here, but you're the newest person, so I haven't had to have the chance to compliment you as much, but I really, really appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
This is so fun.
Good.
Super fun.
I'm having a blast. I hope you
So
guys are
fun.
having a blast. As you know, you can do all the things. You know, you can find us on social media, on the TikTok and the gram.
The TikTok.
Is
The
it
TikTok.
on TikTok?
On the TikTok.
I'm not that uncool.
On the call
Come
waiting.
on.
We got you.
Um,
We
If you
got
want to see
There's-
JD dancing,
there-
go to Mod Pod Studio
Oh,
Live on
it's
TikTok.
fabulous.
Yes, if you want to see JD in drag performing.
Yes.
Both sides of a very famous Christmas duet, but the nice version, the less rapey version.
Oh.
Sorry, if that's a trigger for anybody. Yeah, that's all available on our TikTok, ModPod Studios, and then Instagram. And I'm available at JD Cargill. Anybody else want to give us their shout out of their handles? Mariah.
Hi.
Mariah.
Mariah Corsani.
There you go.
On
And-
all socials, any of them, if you search RA Media Makeup, it's me.
RA Media Makeup.
Angelica Perman and the Sound Empress. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all the things.
All the things. All right.
All the things.
That is it for all of us today. We look forward to seeing you Tuesdays and Fridays from 2 to 5, wherever you are. That's Pacific time. We're live streaming. You can also catch everything that we're doing here on demand videos, as well as our podcast. Thank you for joining us on another amazing episode of Gals, Gays, and Theys. And remember, you belong. I'm confident of that. And